What's the name of the devil?
Lucifer.
Is it Burbledees?
No, not Burbledees, no. Begins with B, though.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Burbledum.
Not Burbledum.
Something like that, yeah.
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub, yeah, Beelzebub.
Burbledum.
Moonlit musings for sportsman vampires, factory shift workers,
Never mind hello, Chuck.
And men with prostate trouble. Morning, Andy.
What are you doing? Make sure you stay awake for the radio show that never sucks. The Nosferatu Mics on Talk Sport.
Like albino people are born albino, aren't they?
Yes.
You sure?
You can develop albinoism. You can, I'm sure. I'm sure, yeah. But no, hang on. Anyway, Sorry, I don't know what you think.
Very good.
Look at the light!
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And I think you've been a little bit harsh here in opening the show by saying a disastrous result for
Of course it's a
Claudio
disaster.
Ranieri.
Well, did we not say that the last thing that Leicester need is to have a very constructed and difficult timetable in the coming weeks, right? They've got to play the Champions League next week.
Yes.
Even if they lose in the next round, they've got to play 2 games. If they're now going to have to play in the FA Cup as well,
yes,
as trying to stay in the Premier League, then surely that's a bit congested, isn't it?
Well, I think he'll have seen that as a morale booster tonight for the squad and for the club and for the fans. And didn't he play it with 8 players changed from his last Premier League team?
Well, he did.
So in that case, he's put in the reserve team and he's got a victory.
Well, yeah.
So I think that is a victory.
But that's exactly what he didn't want to do. I mean, the reason he put in the 8 players who were not from the usual first team was that he was hoping to get beaten by Derby. Instead, by some alchemy, they've ended up winning.
Well, who are they playing in the next round?
I'm not sure.
Well, whoever they play now will probably he'll probably play the same 8 second-string players. And if they go out in the next round, that will be just the same as going out in this round.
Yeah, but he might get
further on.
But he might get through in the next round. But the point is, it's more congestion in his timetable, which he doesn't need.
I don't think it is really, because I think that he's exercising some fringe players, some players in the squad, and all clubs work on squads now.
That's all rubbish, though, isn't it?
No. I think he will say definitely that using 8 spare players and getting a result like that, and the beneficial resonation.
Oh, they play Millwall next.
Millwall next. That's right.
They're definitely going out then.
The beneficial resonation of morale and feel-good factor and uplift will have been worth it. No, I think it was a victory for Ranieri tonight.
Really?
And that's why when you open the show, which is called The Two Mics, and you attach my name to a failure, which is really a success, I have to take issue.
You're certainly welcome to take issue with anything I say.
Yes.
Because I do not speak for you in the same way that you don't speak for me.
No, I don't.
But it so happens that the way that we do the show is that I open it, and you're very free to disagree with everything I say in that opener.
We both work for Talk Sport, of course.
We do.
And I think you'll find that if we were now to take a sample of Leicester fans, or in fact any football fans, looking at the situation, evaluating it, and coming back with a verdict, I can assure you, or I can bet you, most would come down on my side.
I
and
don't
to
think
test
so.
this theory,
No, I don't think so.
To test this theory, I'm going to say to anybody out there who wants to offer an opinion, and by the way, you have my support if you want to support me. I would support my supporters.
Nobody's going to support you.
08.
You're the guy that said that Claudio Ranieri should have been fired at the beginning of the season.
I definitely did, yeah.
The hero of all that has been good for Leicester over the past 24 months.
I definitely did. It's 08717 223344. I say it in a manner that you can hear. 08717 223344. And yes, I will admit, I am definitely the first person to have said that having won the Premier League, Leicester should then, of course, the new management who had achieved such a notable and historic success, should have paid Claudio Ranieri off, said thank you very much, and got in a proper foreign coach to then take the team on.
Why not a proper British coach? Why would he have to be foreign?
I don't think there was a British coach around who would have been available and able to take Leicester on to more glory.
That is very much debatable.
Because it was a mistake, Leicester winning it last season. An accident.
Well, it wasn't a mistake.
Well, no, it was an accident.
No, it wasn't a mistake.
Well, how did Claudio Ranieri, after a 30-year career as a coach, winning nothing, suddenly win the English Premier League?
Well, first of all, it's not true to say. It's not true to say that he won nothing, and it's not true to say it was a freak.
He won nothing.
It was a tremendous, amazing event, which sometimes happens in sport, which you can never predict. 5,000 to 1 was the odds at the beginning of the season, right? Yeah. In the same way that them going down is not quite 5,000 to 1, but could happen.
25 to 1, apparently.
Who do you think Claudio Ranieri is going to put out at the weekend in the Premier League? Is he going to put 8 members of the sort of second team out?
No.
Because he wants to save his team for the Champions League? Is he going to put out a weak team for the Champions League?
No. He'll put out a full team because he desperately needs the 3 points in the Premier League, right? He will then put out a mid-strength team in the Champions League because...
A mid-strength team?
Yes, a mid-strength team, yeah. Because that is a competition in which he has built momentum. And so the players actually will feel more confident in their Champions League tie. Their next opponents are Sevilla, aren't they?
They are Sevilla,
yeah.
Who I once tipped to do very well in the Champions League. You might remember a couple of seasons ago.
But they didn't.
Well, they've won the Europa League 3 times in a row, I believe.
Yeah, they have, actually.
Which is very unheard of, right?
Yeah.
And they're terribly good. And I think that they are going to do well in the Champions League this season.
Have you been to Seville?
I have. Many years ago.
I have. And do you know what you can't do in Seville?
Tell me about the oranges, right?
Yeah, you can't eat an orange plucked off an orange tree in the street.
Why not?
They've been infected by the birds who peck at them.
Well, that's not
so they have to be harvested. No, every week this lorry goes around. Well, several lorries go around, like what are they called? Cherry pickers. And
they're in fact orange pickers.
They're orange pickers. They're not picking cherries.
They're not actually cherry pickers.
No, they're orange pickers, and they pick all the oranges off, and they take them out into the country and squash them all up.
Do they?
And bury them.
Why don't they make orange juice out of them?
Well, because it could be affected by the poison that birds carry in their beaks, because the birds peck at the oranges to get the orange juice out of them.
You're saying birds carry poison in their beaks?
Of course they do.
Rubbish.
Of course they do.
Absolute nonsense.
Of course they do.
So what you're saying to me, every time every time a bird lands on your bird table, which is about once a year, they're passing some kind of horrible disease to you.
Well, I don't go around drinking the water in my bird bath.
Well, not even when you're dehydrated.
No, not even when I'm dehydrated. No, I do not.
I bet you do.
I do not.
I bet you've staggered out there a couple of times in the summer.
Rubbish.
You know, when you've woken up with your dry throat. Going, it'd be easier if I just drink the water out of the bird bath.
No.
I can see you doing that.
I'm not into that. So don't worry about that. So
I'm not worried.
That is the plan. He has put out a weakened team and got through to the next stage of the FA Cup.
I don't think he wanted to.
Well, I think he was happy to accept that result with the team that he put out. I think he'll put the same sort of team out against Millwall. Are they home or away?
I don't know. I think they're away.
They're away. Well, I think they'll get through that anyway because I think Class will out. So that'll get them to the sixth round of the FA Cup.
Bournemouth and Watford have already found out where the class is, and that's at Millwall.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but I believe Leicester will get through it even with an understrength team.
There's the Porky jinx.
And I think that he believes they have enough momentum in the Champions League, enough self-belief within his own players to put out a team. I would say if he makes 3 changes from the last Premier League side that he put out, that would be about it, I would think.
What?
3 changes from the preceding Premier League side.
So you're saying that he will put out a slightly weaker team when he plays in the Champions League?
No, I'm not saying that. Slightly different team. Slightly different team. I think he's got good enough players, right, that the 11...
I don't think he has. That's the problem. I mean, he let the one good player that he had go, right? Jamie Vardy's gone off the boil, right? So he seems to have forgotten where the goal is.
Well, Jamie Vardy can come back on the boil because what happens in the situation like Jamie Vardy, who's got latent talent, or at least at the moment...
Well, he had latent talent for a year.
Yeah, well, his talent's a bit latent at the moment. Yeah. That can suddenly explode into action. And he can do that by the simple motivation of a Champions League game or a sudden realisation that why am I letting my reputation, trickle out through like water into a paper cup or something like that.
Or into a bird bath even.
Or into a bird bath, that's right, yeah. So I think it'll all come right for Leicester. They won't go down. But
do you think they will get past Sevilla, is what I'm asking you?
Yeah, I think they will.
So you think they'll get into the quarterfinals of the Champions League?
I think they will, because I think
really?
what Mr. Ranieri has done this season has found a magic sort of formula to get them through the varying stages of the Champions League, which was he's applied the magic that he applied to the Premier League campaign last season. It's just not worked for him again in the Premier League, but I do believe it's working in the Champions League. And I think one reason for it is I think his players are very excited to be playing in the Champions League, and that in itself motivates individuals.
Well, they did well in the group stage, there's no question about that, but whether they will now do well in the knockout stage after having had terrible results and looking down the wrong end of the relegation scenario, I think they're lacking in confidence. I mean, they beat Derby, for heaven's sake. Derby are in the Championship,
right?
That's right. They are one league below them. Derby are not challenging particularly for the playoff places.
No,
it doesn't look like they're going to be moving up to the Premier League anytime soon. This is not a massive victory for Leicester.
It's not, but I think...
It is a massive disaster for Leicester, mark my words.
Yeah. My prediction is Leicester will now go on a run, which will take relegate them way above the halfway mark by the end of the season.
Here's my prediction.
And I think it'll be stimulated by the return to the Champions League.
Do you want to know my prediction, which is going to be made at this time? It's 1:13 on the night of, February the 7th?
Yeah, OK.
I'm going to tell you that...
I'm telling you,
they're going to go out of the FA Cup to Millwall. Hey? They're going to go out of the Champions League to Sevilla.
Right.
And they're going to get relegated.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
No, it's not.
It is. It's ludicrous and
it is not
ridiculous.
Ludicrous. That is my prediction. Don't forget, I've got the last 2 trebles, the last 2 weekends correct.
I think that stretching the imagination, they might go out of the FA Cup to Millwall, they might go out of the Champions League Sevilla, but they're not going to get relegated.
By the way, it's the 9th of February.
9th of Feb, yeah. Okay.
I thought it was the 7th.
Yeah, you thought it
Where's
was the 7th?
Where's the time go?
I don't know.
Anyway, we're out of time.
Yes, we're out of time.
I've got a slightly worrying tweet here from somebody called Ezzy, who says, I'm sure I've just seen Stan Collymore sitting in his car in the TalkSport studio car park.
Really?
I very much doubt that.
No, he's banned from parking in there.
Yeah, he's been blocked.
He used to leave it there all night.
He's blocked somebody in.
Yeah, blocked.
This is TalkSport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on TalkSport and Talk Radio.
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. Porkyvision coming up a little bit later on. We can't reveal probably which shows exactly are going to feature. We're also going to be talking to Mark Donaldson, and we're going to be finding out from a guy in Ukraine exactly what's going on with this yeti spotting that's been happening over there.
Yes.
They spotted yetis, apparently.
Right, OK,
I know you're going to say to me, I don't believe in yetis, right?
Yes.
And yet you believe in all sorts of other stuff, don't you?
What do you mean?
Well, you believe in God. You believe in the devil. Well, you can't see them.
I believe in good and evil, if that's represented by the Almighty and...
The Almighty.
And what's the name of the devil?
Lucifer.
Is it Burbaldes?
No, not Burbaldes, no. Begins with B, though.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Burbledum.
Not Burbledum.
Something like that, yeah.
Beelzebub.
Yeah, Beelzebub.
Burbledum.
Yeah.
Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Tweedledum and Lucifer, you're right. Yeah, I believe in a bit. Yeah. I have faith, put it that way.
Yeah,
and
but you don't believe in yetis?
No, of course I don't believe in yetis. If
Why
yetis
not?
were around, somebody would have taken a picture of one, OK?
Well, there is a picture.
If yetis were around,
there is a picture.
Somebody would have shot one from a helicopter by now, you know.
No. In very remote parts of Nepal.
Oh, really? Don't have helicopters in Nepal, then, to get people off the top of Everest, eh?
They're not normally just sitting there hovering, no.
Yeah, of course they do.
And if you happen to see an abominable snowman in Nepal,
rubbish.
There doesn't always happen to be a helicopter around to take a picture of it or to shoot it.
Why do you think we never got a picture of the Dartmoor panther?
The Dartmoor panther?
Yeah.
Well, people did take pictures of the Dartmoor panther, but it didn't exist.
They took pictures of a dog and a cat from long range, extended the tail with a black pen, and that was the Dartmoor panther.
And did you ever publish those in the Daily Express?
No, of course not.
I
wouldn't have dealt with that sort of rubbish, mate.
Yeah.
You know, I dealt in facts only, believe me.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, how about this from Stephen, who says, beat Seville, they are second in La Liga. I think you've been on the top shelf. Have a word with the plank, Mike Graham, he's saying. So basically, you've got that wrong about Sevilla. Sevilla are the second in La Liga.
Right.
So they're doing rather well.
Second behind
Real Madrid, actually.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah, I think it's Real Madrid. I think Barcelona are third.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely, because Real Madrid are going for their first title in
8 years.
Only their second title in 9 years. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
For some reason,
okay.
They're having a lot of success at winning La Liga.
Okay, well, that's all right, but I mean, you've got to remember, they're playing in like a 3-team league, you know, it's basically Barcelona,
that's not true.
The two Madrid clubs.
Well, you might as well say...
usually Valencia or Sevilla.
No, you might as well say that.
Yes.
What about Atletico Madrid?
I've just said the two Madrid clubs, Barcelona, and then either Sevilla or Valencia usually.
Well, that's four.
Or Villarreal.
That's 4 teams.
Yeah, it's one of four. It's a 4-team league. I said a 4-team league.
In the Premier League, you said it was a 2-team league before.
No, I didn't. I said 4-team league. Honestly.
Well, the thing about the Premier League is it's about a 4-team league as well.
Well, it's not really, because if you take Burnley, who are not recognised as, you know, a stellar club in the Premier League, and they've taken as many home points as almost anybody else in the league.
Yeah, but they haven't taken any away.
I know
they've got about as much chance of getting into top 4 as you have of getting a girl back into your jacuzzi in Santorini.
But they make their contribution by taking points off people who visit Burnley.
Incorrect.
So that's what I'm saying.
Mr. O'Hara says Leicester played rubbish teams in the group stage. Sevilla will destroy them.
Okay, you say that, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced.
Okay, well, you may not be convinced. Now, isn't it a shock, by the way? The first piece of news I got this afternoon, when I was doing a bit of work on the old website, was that poor old Tara Palmer-Tompkinson has died at the age of just 45.
Yes.
And she was the it girl, wasn't she?
Well, yes and no.
She was the it girl.
I mean, look, you have to have sympathy for somebody who's succumbed to an addiction, and she definitely did. I mean, you saw some horrendous pictures of her with nose surgery because if you're taking cocaine,
extensive use of cocaine,
for like 2 or 3 decades, then apparently it burns out the inside of your nose and you have to have it operated on, that kind of stuff. So I feel very sorry for somebody whose life has been wasted in such a way at the age of 45.
Well, it's a terribly young age to die, isn't it?
It's a terribly young age to die, and she was clearly brought up in an environment where her self-worth was always a problem. You know, if everything's given to you in life at the start of your life, she was an heiress, so she never had any money problems and all that. I feel very sorry. I tell you what, I remember seeing her in an advert for some chocolate, I think it was.
Really?
Maybe about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, in which she was stretched out in a bath. Do you remember? It was all bubbles and all that, and then...
Yeah, sort of vaguely,
and I thought she had great acting ability.
Was it an ad for Cadbury's Flake or something?
I think it was something like that. Yeah, I think it was something like that. And I thought she had great acting ability because she was so appealing. You know, she had a twinkle in her eye. And she was quite mischievous the way she delivered her lines, and she looked at the camera with
She was in Big Brother at one point as well, wasn't she?
I didn't know that. Was she? Yeah. So I feel very sorry for her, but I can't join in this old Twitter, heartbroken to hear that Tara. I didn't know her, I'd never met her, but
well, I mean, I agree with that.
I think she's a very unfortunate young lady.
I mean, I'm never heartbroken about the death of somebody that I didn't know.
Yeah, sure.
But it just seems such a shame for someone who was, as they've described it in some of the papers today, someone with the world at their feet.
Yeah.
You know, the Mail says, beautiful, wealthy, friend of the royals, the original it girl, did have the world at her feet, so why couldn't Tara escape her downward spiral? You know, I'm not heartbroken, I just think it's very sad that somebody at 45 dies, no matter what situation.
My response to this is always Jimmy Greaves, because Jimmy Greaves could have been a chronic alcoholic and died maybe 40 years ago. But when he realised he was a chronic alcoholic, he took a grip and he controlled his addiction. And he clearly did have an addiction and didn't have another drink for the rest of his life. And now he's not so well with other illnesses, and we wish him very well indeed. Yeah. But nevertheless, he prolonged his life and led a good and respectable life because he got a grip. Now, not everybody can do that, but those who do I respect enormously. The point is, if you've got an addiction and you're aware of it in your sober moments, and I mean sober both drink and drugs-wise, then that's when you have to work so terribly hard within your life to try and put in a framework to contain it if you want to live longer. Yeah. But if you don't want to live longer, don't bother.
I don't think it's a question of whether you want to live longer. I think some people just don't have the ability to avoid what it is
well,
that
I think
crave.
They're the weak people in the world.
They may be weak. I'm not making any medical assessment of them. I just think it's terribly sad. And I'm not trying to judge her. I'm not trying to say that she's a good person,
I think
a
it's
bad
sad.
person. But it's sad. She's 45 years old. She deserves to live longer.
I think it's also very sad when people get really unlucky breaks in life. This woman had a very lucky break in life. She was born into, as you say, society, wealth, friends of royalty. Some people are born with terrible afflictions and fight it every day of their life until, it gets them. Stephen Hawking is one. You know what I mean? Some people are dealt a terribly unfortunate set of cards. She wasn't. She brought the roof down on herself. So my sympathy is limited. And I'm not trying to be unkind, but it is.
Well, you are being unkind.
I'm not.
I think that's
I'm not.
absolutely horrendous. Terrible thing to say.
No, it's not a terrible thing to say.
Well, yeah, it is. The woman is not cold yet in her coffin.
Yes,
and she also was suffering from a brain tumour. So I don't think you should really be too harsh on her, as she was obviously a very unlucky person.
She was very lucky, Mike. She was very lucky in that she was literally the gilded lily of life was her.
That shouldn't make any difference.
Well, it does make a difference because then, she had a choice. Some people, as I say, who are born... What about the little boy who we've been raising money for?
I've got some great news on that, by the way. Do you know that an anonymous donor has stepped forward and made up the rest of the money which was required?
Yes.
So it's gone from 90,000, which we'd collected up until yesterday, all the way up to 150.
It's absolutely fantastic.
So somebody's come up with the money. His mother has said, please continue to give money just because he will need money in the future. But
that's right.
It's a fantastic piece piece of news.
Yes, it's an utterly fantastic piece of news. Thank you to the donor. Thank you to everybody else who responded to the limited assistance that old MG and I gave, but we're delighted to have been part of it.
Indeed.
What I was saying, I think this is going to be his 4th operation, isn't it?
It is,
For a terrible cancer, OK?
Yes.
And that puts it into perspective. The little lad's not 4 yet, is he?
He is 4 now.
He's 4 now, OK,
he's not quite
fine.
5.
So at 4, he's already had 3 operations of cancer. He's going to America for a 4th. You know, his parents live on a knife edge. Tara Palmer-Tomkinson could have had a gilded life and chose not to. So that's why, although I'm sympathetic to her and her family will obviously feel distraught, I have limitations on the extent of sympathy I can give to it compared to the milk of human kindness I would extend to others.
If the milk of human kindness was in your house,
yes,
you would only just about have enough for 1 cup of tea.
Well, that's a daft thing to say,
it's
because
I have no compassion on milk of human kindness.
I have tremendous compassion. I'm trying to put it into perspective.
No,
okay?
Nonsense. No, you are not a very kind person.
I am very kind.
No, you're not.
When
it comes to giving out good wishes to people who have had terrible things happen to them,
I am.
You're always making out it's their own fault.
Hang on, I've just spoken about little Leo, the 4-year-old, who we've been delighted to be, in a limited way, helpful towards.
Yes, absolutely.
And of course I have
the
milk of human kindness. I give money to charities and all sorts of things.
So you keep telling me.
Yeah.
So you keep telling me. How about this from Stuart? Maybe
you
can help
wouldn't.
Me out.
If she was a charity, you wouldn't give money to her, would you?
I wouldn't give her any money, no.
Because what I'm saying is that it's all self-inflicted. That's the problem.
Well, unfortunately, that may be true. It doesn't mean you have to be rotten about it.
I'm not. You asked me an opinion. I gave you an opinion, mate. Do you want me to lie?
No.
Telling lies.
I certainly don't want you to
over
lie.
the radio is something which A is against Ofcom rules.
Yes, I know that.
And B,
and
something
you never do that, do you?
No, and something we would not.
Have you ever told a lie on this show?
Of course not.
Really?
And something we would not practice. On an established medium of communication like TalkSport.
What size is your shirt?
X.
Thank you. Stuart says this, Yeti spotting on tonight's show. I once saw a Yeti going to Orwell Quay in Ipswich. Not sure if it was Porky or his henchman.
Oh, I see.
And maybe you can shed some light on this, which I don't understand. Stuart says there's not much, if any, mention of the protests in Romania. Any chance of giving them some air and Parry Boloxios? Hashtag corrupt EU.
So what are they protesting about?
I don't know.
Who's protesting?
I've no idea. Maybe they're protesting about something to do with the government.
Maybe they're storming Ceausescu's palace and saying, give it back to the people.
Yeah, it could be.
What about that?
Yeah, well, maybe we'll try and get
Tell you what, I hope they've got
it.
rid of those scumbags in London who were invading all the Russian billionaires' £25 million homes.
What, do you mean the squatters?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but certainly another member of the sort of opposition to Putin, aside from the guy who we've discovered was poisoned, another guy has now been found guilty of embezzlement and is about to be locked up in a gulag for about 100 years.
No, he's not, actually. I'll tell you what happened was. He was going to be a credible sort of political opponent to Putin, and then amazingly, investigators who work for Mr. Putin found that there are allegations of embezzlement, of which he's now been found guilty, which means he can now no longer stand in opposition to Mr. Putin. However, Mr. Putin, in his mercifulness, has said he doesn't have to go to the gulag. He's just going to be banned from doing what he was doing.
Right, OK. So they're not going to lock him up?
Not going to lock him up.
Really? So he'll be poisoned in about a year then?
Oh, that's a terrible thing to say.
This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. Peter has tweeted at the Two Mics and says, what is the link to donate to the poor lad? I hadn't heard of this before. Would like to donate. Peter, we will retweet the link.
Certainly will.
It's a GoFundMe link, but there's also a Facebook page and there's all kinds of other ways to do it as well. So keep your eyes open and we will do that. Andrew says, Burble Dumb and Burble Dumber, which is quite good, isn't it?
What was that?
Well, you said that Beelzebub's real name was Burble Dumb.
Yes.
And so he's turned that into Burble Dumb and Burble Dumber.
Burble Dumber, yeah. Now, I've got one here, and it's from Wizard. Thank you, Wizard.
Yeah.
He says, I'm with Porky for a change. Tara Palmer-Tomkinson could have had an amazingly privileged life.
Amazingly.
Yes, she chose to destroy it. No sadness from me. So, look, nobody's being unkind, but I think you have to put these things into perspective.
All right.
Now, also, somebody sent in a picture, and this is stimulated by, once again, your abuse of me.
How do you mean?
It says, here's my Porky Parry, smarter than the average yeti. And then a picture of me done up as a weird creature.
Yes.
Which I think is, again, excessive.
OK. David says apparently about 1,000 people were protesting outside the Romanian embassy in London on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I don't know what about.
Well, I mean, doesn't he tell you what they're...
No, and I don't know where the Romanian embassy is either, do you?
Romanian embassy?
Yeah. Any idea?
I don't visit it on a regular basis, I'm afraid.
No, me neither.
No.
And how about this from Nick, who says, we are playing the Two Mics drinking game here, rosé, white, red and whiskey.
Oh, lovely.
And apparently, have you seen the time is a downer.
So
every time I say, have you seen the time?
Yeah,
they have to down it in one.
So keep saying it then.
That's twice you've got to do it.
Right, it says here from Wrong Star, he says... Tara Palmer-Tomlinson was in a Walker's Crisp advert with Gary Lineker. Oh, I think I remember that as well.
Well, I think that's the one you're talking about.
I don't think it is. She was in a bath. Oh, yeah, it could have been. Yeah, lying back in the bath and eating crisps or something, Lady of Leisure.
Yeah.
Right, Robbie here says, Mike Parry is saying she was lucky because she was born into a wealthy family. But money isn't everything, even though he thinks it is.
Exactly right.
Now, I'll tell you what, I want to tell you a story about that, please, which I've come across and which has got me incensed with rage.
Incensed with rage?
Yeah.
Not like you.
Because, I once had a catalogue of charities that I gave to.
No, I know that you once had one charity that you gave to called Sight Savers.
No, I had about 8.
Well, you never told me about the other 7.
No, I will, honestly.
All I know is about the one that you got upset with because they sent you an all-round email.
That's right.
Which every donor gets.
That's right.
Trying to solicit more money from you. You then tried to ring up the person who had supposedly sent you the email.
That's the chief executive.
The chief executive of the charity.
Yes.
And because you thought that it was a personal email, you thought you had the right of reply to her personally.
Yes.
And when you were not put through to her,
that's right.
You threw a strop and said, "I'm not giving you any more money."
Yes, I did, because they said she
many people in Africa are no longer able to see.
She said the girl on the other end of the phone said, "I'm sorry, she doesn't speak to or communicate with
the great unwashed
donors."
Why should she?
Well, considering how much money I'd given them, I took that as a direct insult, and I immediately pulled
but it wasn't about
my
you,
donations,
though.
And I now give money to other people. But at one time, I'm not joking, it was Sight Savers, it was Age UK, it was British Heart Foundation, it was a load of them, honestly.
By the way, did you see somebody tweeted out that ridiculous story that was in the Mail Online a few years ago?
What was that?
After you recovered from your so-called illness.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy said, "Oh, yeah, look, nobody can give Porky a hard time now. Here's the proof that he's ill."
Yes.
You know that ridiculous interview you gave, which was given only to the Mail.
Was there a picture of me and my sister?
A picture of you and your sister.
Yeah, that's right. That wasn't online. That was a full-page double spread in the Daily Mail.
A full-page double spread? What was it, 1 or 2 pages?
It was 1.5.
1.5?
Yeah.
What was on the other half?
Advert, I think, or something, yeah.
Well, I mean, as I pointed out to the guy who said that this was proof that Porky's sick,
yes,
I said, well, there's nobody else quoted the story.
Yeah.
The story is purely an interview with you. Yeah, they didn't even bother to go and interview the doctor to say what was actually wrong with you.
It was in the medical pages under critical conditions.
Really?
So,
that means everything.
Yeah.
There was nobody else quoting the story.
Anyway, I don't know why you brought that up, because, listen, I want to tell you this, right? Now then, are you aware of a website called Just Giving?
Yes.
Right, OK. And do you know what it is?
Well, it's a place where people who are raising money for charity are able to set up their own personal area.
Yeah.
So that if they're running in a marathon or something, collecting money for spina bifida, you go to their Just Giving page, and it's very easy to donate.
It's used by millions every year to help them raise money for deserving charities.
That's
okay?
Right. Yes.
So an investigation which I've found says this: the website rakes off £20 million a year from your charity donations.
Yeah.
This is the allegation, and I stress it's allegation. We haven't got the proof, but it's in a report that I've seen, an investigation about the charity. It says many will be unaware that it takes that the charity Just Giving, the website Just Giving.
Yes.
Many are unaware it takes more than £20 million a year from fundraisers.
Yeah.
Its boss has a £200,000 pay package. Yeah. The firm takes a cut of more than 6% from almost every donation.
Yeah.
Some of the money is spent keeping the site working 24 hours a day and finding innovative ways of raising more for good causes.
Sure.
But accounts show more than £10 million last year.
Yeah.
That's 10 million quid, Mike.
But if it's 6%, actually that's not a bad amount, because there are some charities, some of the bigger ones particularly, who take about something like 75% in admin fees.
OK. Well, yeah, but this is a big operation. It says accounts show more than £10 million last year when the staff costs, with the website's directors, technicians, sales and administration workers paid an average salary of more than 60,000. That's average. That's a very, very good average salary. The boss of the firm earned a pay package of 198,000.
Yeah. But every charitable institution has the same problem, right?
Yes.
And some of them actually pay their people even more.
Yeah.
Some of them take even more of a slice from the actual pound in your pocket,
Yes.
as it were.
Yes.
And if it's only 6%, I would say that's not bad.
Yeah, well, in fairness, one has to point out that it has raised, by charities by going through this mechanic, right, have raised very large sums of money. One appeal currently on Just Giving has raised £160,000 for a 4-year-old boy named Sam who needs cancer treatment.
Right.
Just Giving officially says it takes 5% from donations, which doesn't seem excessive to me. But under Just Giving terms, the firm stands to make about £10,000 from his treatment fund. So anyway, look, the ballpark figures, the baseline figures, £20 million a year from charity donations, that's a huge amount of money.
Well, it is a huge amount of money, but if it's only 6%, I would say that they are actually performing better than most of the bigger charities, like international, like Oxfam, for example, like Save the Children, who have massive offices in London that we've talked about before, who have chief executives who are on something like $300,000 a year, and who take as an administration fee something like 75% out of every pound that you give. So actually, 6% for Just Giving is not bad, I would say.
Okay. Well, look, the point is that charities have become massive big business operations.
Yeah, of course they have.
And I think it's very, very strange to see a charity in a glass building, on 8 floors and that kind of stuff, because that's not what charities were set up for originally, to become corporate.
But you don't have a problem. I mean, I don't have a problem with charities operating as they now do in the modern world, where they have to be, up to speed on technology.
Yes.
They have to be able to raise money from lots of people.
Yes.
However, you're right. They've become a business, and unfortunately, too many people work in it, and too many people see it as a as a career.
That's what I say. That's what I say. Now,
some of them still do very good work.
I agree, and I'm not saying that Just Giving is in any way wicked, evil, or or non-charitable. I'm saying that the costs involved in charity raising these days are huge, and we should be aware of it.
Indeed.
Now,
so how many charities do you give to now that you're giving up on the 8 that you used to give to?
About 3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now then, can I just tell you this, please?
Tell me.
Now, we're going to announce the launch of the new Two Mics website.
Yes, we are.
A week on Saturday.
Yes.
In fact, we're announcing it now, but it's going to happen a week on Saturday.
Well, let's hope so, yeah.
And we're going to have a sort of, launch party.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
With our mate, Dave, who owns bars.
Are you?
That's his name, Dave, who owns bars.
Well, I mean, you say we're having a party.
Yeah.
Are you inviting people to this party?
Well...
You haven't thought this through, have you?
No, I'm going to tell people where we're going to be.
You haven't thought it through?
I have thought it through.
No, so you invite people to a party. That means they come to a party.
Yes.
They get plied with drink.
Yeah, right.
Possibly other things. And then they go home happy.
Well, we've got this mate Dave, and just to give you a hint of what his business is all about, his Twitter handle is Dave Owns Bars.
So you invite a load of people to Dave's bars. What's he supposed to do? Give them free drink? I don't think you should promise that.
No,
we can't do that.
In response, we'll tell people Dave's a good guy. Okay?
Yeah, all right. But the point is, you can't invite people to a party and then charge them.
Oh, I'm not going to charge them anything.
You're not going to charge them anything?
No.
You see, this is the trouble with you.
Dave.
The trouble with you, right, is you have no idea how the world works.
What?
You're now saying we're having a party. We're not having a party at all.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, if you carry on like this, we're launching something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means that people, if they wish to attend the launch, is something different.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're not having a party.
Well, it turned into a party, won't it,
Well, it won't, because you'll
I'll
go
put
home.
my hand in my pocket. I'll put my hand in my pocket. Buy a few
what you're
drinks.
going to do?
Yeah, buy a few drinks.
How many drinks are you going to buy?
10.
10 drinks. Well, that takes care of you. What about everybody else?
No.
Floaty Sock says this. You know the devil. What's his name? Burble D's.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
doubled over with laughter here.
Yeah.
Here's one from Stephen who says, good old compassionate Porky strikes again.
Yes.
That's about poor old Tara
Well,
Palmer-Tomkinson.
it's a difficult situation.
Ethan says, yesterday Leicester were going down and are going to be thrashed by Sevilla. How does a win against a weakened Derby change things? That's the other thing you didn't mention.
It's a morale
Derby
boost.
County, with your mate Steve McLaren in charge, also put out a weakened team.
Yes, Steve. How you say in English, yes? Anyway, let me just tell you very quickly, right, why I brought up our new website, right?
Yeah, why?
A British social media, because I hope we're going to have this sort of success, that's why. A British social media network that connects neighbours is being sold to a US rival firm for £10 million.
Who?
I'm going to tell you now. Netting its founder a £2 million windfall. Street Life, now this is quite clever, a start-up with 1.5 million members has been snapped up by Californian upstart Nextdoor as it expands into the UK from the US, okay?
Yeah.
Founder Matt Boyes Boyes, who's 38. He's a father of 2, quit his job and sold his house to start the business in 2011, ploughing more than £250,000 of his own money into the ventures. His wife, Emma, also 38, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, joined the business.
What's the business? What does it do?
It's called Street Life.
But what does it do?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Street Life is a website.
Was that a song by Randy Crawford?
No, Street Life.
Yeah, it was a song by Randy
Crawford. 'Cause I've got nowhere to go.
By Randy Crawford.
Street Life.
Yeah, by Randy Crawford.
In the streets and the ghetto.
By Randy Crawford.
No, it wasn't. It was sung by a girl.
Randy Crawford is a girl.
Oh, sorry. I thought Randy Crawford was a bloke who played the piano. There was a Randy somebody. Randy Newman?
Randy Newman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so you're right.
He was also not black.
You're right. It was
Randy Crawford is a black woman singer.
She's great as well.
Yeah.
Now then, let me tell you, Street Life is a website that allows neighbours to post messages to one another about local events and wanted adverts.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, in the old days, when you wanted...
you just went round to the next door and said, you want to buy my table?
Well, no, more than that. Yeah. What happened was, because I worked in a newsagent, people would come in and for like 5 pence, you'd put a card in the window which said...
Dog sitter needed or something.
Or couch for sale, or piano for sale, 2 missing keys, 3 quid or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this is what it's about. It was founded in 2008, I've told you that.
Right.
He gave up his job as software. Early backers, Paul Ettinger, one of the founders of Cafe Nero, and Steve Pankhurst.
Why is that funny? Is he a friend of Emmeline's?
No, because it could be
a hot
Plankhurst.
chocolate song.
Could be Plankhurst. All right, today it has more than 1.5 million members, but anyway, the point is...
What is the point?
They built it up from nothing, and they're selling it for 2 million quid.
Today?
Yeah. So, listen, perhaps we could sell the Two Mics website this time next year for 2 million quid.
Yeah, well, thankfully we took it off those maniacs and we were trying to put it together for months and months and months.
These
you put in
nutters
charge
in
of it.
Munich.
Yeah. So maybe when it's finished, we might be able to sell it. But I wouldn't try to flog it off just yet.
What?
Because it's not even ready.
What?
This is Talk Sport. Mark Donaldson's coming next.
Right.
Reasons to be cheerful, Part 3. Summer Buddy Holly, the working folly, the golly Miss Molly, and boats. Hammersmith Parry, the Bolshoi Bally, jump back in the alley, add nanny goats. 18-wheelers, camels, Dominica camels, all other mammals plus equal votes. Seeing Piccadilly, Fanny Smith and Willie, being rather silly, and porridge oats. A bit of grin and bear it, a bit of come and share it. You're welcome, we can spare it. Yellow socks, too short to be haughty, too nutty to be naughty. Going on 40, no electric shocks. The juice of the carrot, the smile of the parrot.
That's the one last night. They went into the 5th round of the FA Cup, and we're talking FA Cup now with Trade Point.
The FA Cup on Talk Sport with Trade Point. Trade brands, trade prices, trade only.
Mark Donaldson is here. He's calling in from the United States of America. Well, the FA Cup is not the massive thing that it is here, I would say. But Mark, would you not say that it's a terrible disaster for Leicester City last night, getting through to the next round of the FA Cup, when they've also got relegation fears and the Champions League against Sevilla?
What happened to the Saturday mornings in May that we all used to love and look forward to when it was 9 o'clock and it started and there was cup final, it's a knockout and everything like that?
There's no money. There's no money in it. There's no money in it. That's what happened to it.
Well, there is no money in it, and of course it takes up such a vital part of the planning of a Premier League manager at this time of the year, Mark. That's that's the issue when there's so much to go for. Well, and winning the FA Cup, I think, gets you about 2 million, and I think you can rake that in now from the quarterfinals onwards per game in the Champions League.
Yeah, and it's sad that, isn't it? Because do you know what? I'm looking right now at the 5th round draw, and say that was even 5 years ago, maybe 10. No, I think we may have to go back to that. I think since Manchester United decided to play in the World Club Championship in South America, ever since then it's kind of been on a downhill spiral.
See, I think that's a bit unfair,
Mark. You look at the 5th round draw, you see some really good ties, and you think to yourself, there's a chance. There's a real chance for some upsets there. But then, you know what? We're going to have to wait until the 18th, 19th and 20th of February to see what teams these Premier League sides are going to put out.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, Leicester made 8 changes last night, right? To my mind, that means they were trying to lose the game. You know, because they don't really want to be in it.
Or to get through with the weakened team, which is acceptable.
No, they were trying to lose the game. I mean, Ranieri was absolutely horrified when he went to extra time, and it turned out that they actually ended up winning.
Don't agree.
They've got Swansea coming up at the weekend, which is a massive game. Swansea beat Leicester. Leicester are in the drop zone, and they're going to go down. I've predicted tonight, Mark, that Leicester will go down. They will lose the next round of the FA Cup to Millwall, who've already beaten Bournemouth and Watford, and they will go out the Champions League to Sevilla. So that will be their season over and done with.
Do you know what? If you'd said that a few months ago, that would be a scenario, you get big odds for that. I don't think you get big odds for that now, because I actually think there's a likelihood that that's going to happen. Millwall beating Leicester City, that could easily happen if they play 9-10 changes or whatever. And then in the Champions League, I'd take Sevilla all day long. Now, momentum's a huge thing in sport. Do you really want to back Leicester right now, the way things are going, ahead of teams like Swansea and Hull, who might not have as gifted players on the whole, but they've got a bit of momentum right now? So, do you know what? I think there's a decent chance that could actually happen.
Yeah, but Mark, this result tonight, which MG has completely failed to recognise, was all about a morale boost. And it was a morale boost to, in the middle of a dip, which has seen them slide to a point above the relegation zone. They needed something to boost confidence. And nothing rallies fans like Leicester fans, who are not traditionally expecting glory every season. Nothing rallies fans like that from what's traditionally a mid-table club, like an FA Cup victory.
Well, an FA Cup victory over a weakened team from the second division.
Under the floodlights.
From a weakened team in the second division.
Yeah, from against any team under the floodlights. Do you not agree?
Well, the fact it's a derby helps, because there's no love lost between these two sides. You're talking about whether or not it's a fillip for the players, for the team, for the supporters. The supporters would have enjoyed that because, look, I know the manager wants to do well in the Premier League and get them out of the position and the predicament that they're in, but the supporters want to go as far as possible. They've got a trip now to Millwall. I'm sure they'll enjoy that. But you're talking about a boost for the players. Well, was it a boost for Drinkwater, for Okazaki, for Fuchs, who were unnamed subs, for the guys like Jamie Vardy who weren't involved? I mean, I commentated on Kapuska at the Euros. This guy's a right talent, but he's hardly seen a look in. The Polish lad that played, Demarai Gray, good player, Musa as well. These are all guys that have done really well. But they're second choice guys. So who's it a boost for? Is it a boost for the players themselves, who probably will not feature at the weekend in Leicester's next match in the Premier League when they go to Swansea on Sunday, or is it a boost for the club as a whole? If he wanted to win that one without taking it to extra time, he would have named a stronger lineup.
He should have done what Everton did and got out early and then concentrated on ending up mid-table and just, be happy with that, right?
Yeah, you see, that's just a snide comment, that, Mark. You don't need to take notice of that. Just a snide, bitter comment from a man who's never nailed his colours to the mast of any club.
I'm very much in favour of Millwall this year.
Really? Oh, very much in favour. I knew he'd be in favour of next year and last year.
I'll let you know next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the man's a charlatan. I'd call him a carpetbagger.
I'm glad you said that.
To every extent.
Somebody else for a second.
The thing is, whenever. Will you stop sniggering, please, Mark? And listen. Whichever way you look at it. Generally speaking, the winners of the FA Cup come out of the top 4 teams in the Premier League. It does happen occasionally that somebody like Portsmouth is the exception to the rule, but generally speaking, the squad's now so strong of the teams in the top 4, they've got enough to get to the final and then win it.
Yeah, that's actually a fair point.
Yeah.
But you've got stories, and there's still stories, irrespective of how much the big boys aren't really treating this the way they did treat it. The story of Sutton United this season is a phenomenal one as well. Oxford United did it, Middlesbrough in the next round as well. Lincoln City, that's a fantastic story as well. So, I mean, would they have got as far as they had got if the likes of Leeds and others had played stronger teams against Sutton or some of the sides that they've beaten? Well, look, they can only beat what's in front of you. And that, I mean, some of the Sutton fans, all the Sutton fans that were at that game, they're never going to forget that. So that is a great thing. We do still have stories in the FA Cup, but it has been devalued by the insistence on playing squad players because the Premier League's more important.
Sure. Yeah. And TalkSport does bring you full live commentary and it's covering every game of this season's FA Cup with our good friends at Trade Point. Indeed. Trade brands, trade prices, trade only.
Yeah.
The FA Cup on TalkSport with TradePoint. With 290 stores nationwide, open early till late, 7 days a week. Find your nearest counter at tradepoint.co.uk.
Now, let's talk about the Champions League, Mark, because that gets back underway next week.
Or La Liga.
What do you want to talk about La Liga for?
Well, I think the two are intertwined.
Why?
Well, because of the fortunes of the Spanish clubs in relation to their ambitions in the Champions League.
Really? Well, on Tuesday...
How come is it? Sorry if you don't mind me asking. How come is it, Mark, that Real Madrid have won more Champions Leagues than they have La Ligas in the last 8 seasons?
Don't know, is the answer to that.
You don't know? You're supposed to be a football expert.
Great question. What a fantastic question. You've set him back on his heels and, now we can move on.
Look, Look, I can come on here. I've done this for many years now with you two, and I've mumbled absolute rubbish, and I've got away with it, and you still phone every week.
Porky's made a lifetime career out of that.
Exactly. And over here, they can't understand the accent, so I'm still getting away with it. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to put your hands up and say, I don't know. A league, in La Liga, you have an issue where you have, 38 games? But in the Champions League, it's more down to luck when you've got the draw as well. And Real Madrid have Atletico Madrid, there's another one as well. Why have they done better in the Champions League over recent years? Plus, they had that cup win as well. The league win as well a few years ago as well. It's just a different competition, and you do need a bit of good fortune. And I'm looking forward to some of these fixtures in the Champions League next.
It looks like they're stretching it out, though, doesn't it? Because they're only playing like 4 games next week, and then presumably 4 games the week after, which is when Leicester are going to play. Paris Saint-Germain against Barcelona looks quite good. Benfica against Dortmund, Bayern Munich against Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal have got their own problems. I mean, they've got so many fans mutinying now that it's hard to believe that Arsene Wenger is still there. Real Madrid, Napoli. So Manchester City, Leicester will play in the following week. But I don't like it when they drag it out like this.
Yeah, it's funny because for commentators like us, it's more opportunities to commentate on this level of football over here because there's more games on more nights. So that's a plus. And I think it depends what side of the fence you two are on as well. Do you want to know that there's going to be football on Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and then Tuesday, Wednesday the following week, and then the reverse fixtures as well? Or do you want 4 games in one day and know that you're only going to get maybe 2 games or 2 nights for the first leg and 2 nights for the second leg? So it depends which side of the fence you're on. It is being split up, and it has been for the last few years. But we're going to get Barcelona PSG or Borussia Dortmund against Benfica on Tuesday. That's not a bad shout. You can pick between the two of them, and I don't think you pick a bad one.
Well, you say that, but I mean, you can have saturation football syndrome, can't you?
You can,
yep. And we all suffer from that, frankly. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, live football every night. It's going to, there's a graph, isn't there, where there are 2 sides of the graph, and once they meet in the middle, sort of, halfway up each sort of particular strand of that graph, then you've got a tipping point.
But why are they doing this? It's all down to money, isn't it? It used to be the case where you used to have first legs one night and second legs another night. Some days, then it went to Tuesday for some first legs and Wednesday for other first legs, and now it's spread out over 2 weeks. It's to do with TV revenue. The rich are getting richer, and unfortunately, certainly, as far as I can only speak for Scottish football, Celtic are miles ahead right now. What's going to happen if they keep getting into the Champions League and they keep earning all this money? If the gap's at 25 points or whatever it is right now, what's going to happen then? Same in England. If it's the same 4, and remember they're going to change the Champions League, if it's the same 4 getting in every single year, then what's going to happen to the domestic competition?
Yes, a very good point. Unfortunately, we've got to leave it there, Mark. Thank you very much indeed. He was Mark Donaldson. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the 2 mics, and of course, we are going to be doing Porkyvision coming up a little bit later on. Do you want to give any taste of what's going to be coming up? Halcyon seems to have disappeared from your Porkyvision scenario.
Halcyon's got boring.
Has it?
But I will touch on a couple of episodes. Right. I'm going to reflect on quite a serious drama. That's the one about the little missing girl from years ago, Shannon Matthews.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This was the show we talked about towards the end of the show yesterday.
Yeah. Pretty difficult to take, but mostly the level of Rogerisation is simply becoming worrying.
Do you think they're just doing it to get ratings? Do you think that's what's driving it? I think surely, people aren't that stupid, are they?
I think it's something we can debate a little later in the show when we get to Porkyvision. Okay.
Wrong Star says this. Yes. Porky thinks he's the new Zuckerberg with the upcoming 2 Mics website. Yeah. He's already dreaming of his billions. Hashtag tech plank.
Yeah, well, why not?
Because I don't think you're going to turn yourself into Mark Zuckerberg anytime soon. Although, it may well be that this week, on Thursday, tomorrow night, we may well experiment with the wonders of Facebook Live.
Yes.
In order to broadcast on video either the Porky quiz or possibly Postman Pork.
And are we talking Periscope here?
Well, no, it's Facebook Live.
Facebook Live?
Yeah.
Right.
Or we could do it on Periscope.
Yes.
There's 2 different methods, right?
Okay.
I'll have to talk you through each
one.
So
there could be a bit of Periscope up.
Could be a bit of Periscope up, or Periscope down.
Periscope down,
and Facebook Live, very possibly.
Yes.
So we'll see how that all goes tomorrow.
But I hope you have similar ambitions to me for the Two Mikes new website. I mean, it's all singing and dancing. It's brilliant.
Well,
We've had some great technicians working on it.
The thing I'm most excited
You seem to think that you understand most of it.
Well, the thing I'm most excited about is that there's going to be some of my recipes on there.
Recipes, yes, that's right.
So if you want to know how to cook some very, very decent food,
or make
relatively simply.
There's going to be some of mine on as well.
Yours
Fish
will be
finger
there
pyramid.
Too. Yours will be there too.
Pear flan.
Yeah, a bit of pear flan.
You
know, if you want to know how to entertain your guests at a dinner party, I think it will be a good place to go for some ideas.
Okay. Now then, let me tell you about something. Somebody had a great... what's the thing when you see into the future? What do you mean, like a
premonition?
Right. So somebody had this
premonition.
Yeah, somebody had this great premonition in 1957. Right.
Yeah.
There was a really crummy American series called Trackdown.
Trackdown.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw that.
No, I didn't either. It was a TV western. Starred Robert Culp. Right. Now, Robert Culp.
Don't think I knew him.
Yeah, he became quite famous. Robert
What else
Culp.
was he in?
He was in like Texas Ranger and that sort of stuff, you know. But anyway,
Texas Ranger.
Yeah,
I never saw that either.
And he was in a TV series with Bill Cosby called I Spy.
I Spy, I remember.
Yeah, Robert Culp. Yeah, that's Robert Culp.
I couldn't place him though.
Anyway, in this 1958 episode, The End of the World, right? The villain is a guy called Walter Trump. Trump.
There you go.
And do you know what Trump's mission is?
I don't know. To destroy the world?
No, to build a huge wall. Yeah, honest to God. Yeah.
Well, not between the United States and Mexico. That would be too good.
Well, Trump was played by a guy called Lawrence Dobkin, right?
Okay.
Now, this guy, Trump, was a high priest of fraud, and he used to go around this town in the West, dressed in magician's robes.
Right.
And he set up a stall.
Actually, Trump would look great if he was wearing magician's robes.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Did you see his press conference yesterday?
No.
When he started, I mean, he's just incapable of saying anything without being sort of theatrical and over the top.
I love all the hand gestures.
Yeah,
all
and he started talking
about some new ones.
There are great people here. Great people. There are great people.
Yeah, yeah.
And you go, well, what's that got to do with it?
But he kept muttering it, didn't he? I saw that.
Yeah,
sorry, I did. Yeah. Great
and he was
people,
basically saying that his, and he was reading from some rule book which said that he was entirely within his rights to ban people from coming to the country,
that's right,
even though the federal judges all over the country have said, actually, no, you're not.
And he's rescinded a lot of the original stuff.
He has.
But anyway, this is where it gets interesting, okay? The plot is this. He dresses in magician's robes and sets up a stall to tell everybody, the citizens of this town, that a meteorite is heading towards their town called Porter. Okay?
Porter, okay.
Yeah, okay. So he says... With financial help from the townsfolk, he can prevent it by building a massive brick wall.
What, to stop a meteorite?
Yes, that's right.
How's he going to do that?
I've no idea. He's going to build this massive brick wall.
Is it coming sideways?
Well, this is the great point, you see. So he says, the problem is that none of the townsfolk stop to think that a wall would be any use of protecting them from a meteorite which comes out of the sky. But nevertheless, they believe in his magical powers so much they fall for his yarn.
Okay.
So they give him loads of money. Bizarrely, Trump then sells them revolving umbrellas and tells them they are special force gadgets that will deflect miniature meteorites which have spun off the main meteorite. The townsfolk lap this up and willingly hand over even more of their hard-earned money for the magic umbrellas.
This sounds eerily familiar.
No, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, it's needless to say, the Texas Ranger, played by Robert Culp, reveals him to be a con merchant to the townsfolk. But the townsfolk then turn on Robert Culp and say he's our hero, he's our saviour. In the end...
What happens in the end?
Well, Trump, in the end, in the series, Trump is made to hand back the money.
Oh, dear.
And is put on a horse, which is whipped, and he literally disappears over the sunset.
Over the wall?
Trump is run out of town.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it all ends. How it all ends in Washington. Because you've seen it, you were mentioning it yesterday.
Yes.
Melania Trump's lawsuit against the Daily Mail Online.
Unbelievable. $150 million.
Yeah. Where apparently, though, she's being represented by the same guy that represented Hulk Hogan in his lawsuit against Gawker, if you remember that.
Yes, I do. Yes.
And they got so much damages from them that they shut the thing down. And the belief is that her thing now is to try and shut Daily Mail Online down. But her reasoning, is bizarre because her reasoning for the $150 £150 million damages
yes.
is that they have so damaged her reputation by alleging something that they can't back up, basically. We're not going to repeat it. That she is unable to take advantage of the fantastic position she was in to create a brand name for herself as the First Lady and to sell loads and loads of commercial things off the back of that. And people say, well, hang on, that's not what you're supposed to do when you're the First Lady.
No. What is amazing about it is that I think she would have had a better chance of winning it in this country, but I mean, American courts are different because of the way they look at life.
Well, they have to now prove that it was malicious in addition to libelous.
That's right.
Yeah.
But in this country, she'd have had a better chance of winning. She said, well, they damaged me in my image as First Lady to the extent of £150 million.
Yes.
But she has no qualms whatsoever by saying, don't you guys get it?
Yeah.
You know, when I leave the White House...
Yeah.
I have a big career ahead of me, but now I have no career because they say I'm escort.
Yeah.
But I'm not escort.
Why are you talking in that weird accent?
Well, because she has a foreign accent.
Well, she is indeed from Slovenia.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You know, so they ruined my ability to earn $150 million.
Yeah.
So I want my $150 million off them.
But as it was pointed out by a very clever lawyer, he said, well, hang on, it's a bit like claiming that you've been damaged by not by not having ownership of something that you've never owned.
Yes.
You might as well say that you've been damaged by not owning part of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Well,
because you don't own it.
Well,
so you can't actually get damaged for something that you don't own.
You know as well as I do, once a woman is branded escort, then the insinuation is that she
I was trying to avoid saying that.
She has taken money in return for favours to members of the opposite sex.
As you might have heard me say earlier, I wasn't going to repeat the allegations, but thanks for doing that anyway. Just in case she comes after you, I'd like to invest myself with any knowledge of you and indeed any partnership with you.
No, I'm telling you why she's suing.
Broadcasting scenario.
I have not made any allegation that
you've repeated the allegation,
no,
which I was very careful not to do.
I have said that what they said is they have used the word escort.
Well,
now, we mustn't get involved in this, okay?
So
I think we'll move on. I want to talk to you about...
Did you ever have any legal training as a journalist?
Loads.
Really?
In fact, I used to give legal classes.
Did you?
Yes, to younger journalists, Now then, let me tell you this.
Have you ever been sued?
Well... No,
not
really.
What about Kate Adie?
Well, that was a settlement. That wasn't a suing.
Did it not go to court?
Yes, went to the High Court.
Yes, and she won, right?
Yes.
And you were found guilty of libel?
No.
Yes,
it was a misunderstanding.
No, you were found guilty of... Were the damages paid?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
But it was doctored. My piece was doctored before it went into the Daily Express.
Oh, what, you blaming for that?
Dark forces.
Dark forces?
Yeah, dark forces.
Paul Potts?
Dark forces got hold of my words and made them seem more harsh.
Somebody had to do something with them, put them in the right order for a start. This is Talk Sport.
That's very funny.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
There's no need for me to ask you what that is.
No, that's the opening theme music and titles to Steptoe & Son.
Indeed. Now,
which I have to say, just before you do, is one of the post-war successes, star programmes of British TV.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you looked at... And you know we were talking about Tara Palmer-Tompkinson earlier, being a Big Brother. She was actually in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I think she won in The Jungle, right? But
she came second.
Did she? When you think about the number of people that watched television in those days, do you know, for example, that Steptoe & Son attracted audiences of up to 28 million?
Yeah.
Just on a regular Saturday.
Not only that...
I mean, that wasn't a special.
No.
That was just every Saturday.
Every Saturday night. There were only 3 channels in those days, BBC One, BBC Two and ITV.
But that's more than half the population then.
Much more. The population in those days was about 52, 53 million. If you take away children and all that, there was only an available audience of about 40 million.
Yeah.
So they had about 2/3 of the adult population of this country watching their programme, including...
And I remember being one of them.
Yeah, exactly, and so do I. And my dad and everybody loved it, including Harold Wilson, who was the Prime Minister, who said, I don't care about state business. When Steptoe & Son's on, state business stops, I'm switching on to watch that.
Yeah.
And also, he was very worried that whatever was in the script would influence people to either vote Tory or Labour. So he used to watch it forensically and then say to his advisors, who writes this?
Yes.
If he didn't like something.
Yeah, and it was written, of course, by Alan Simpson and Ray Galton.
Exactly.
Because Harry H. Corbett, who played the son, was quite a lefty in his way, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
And he used to
What, you mean in the show?
In the show, yeah.
Yeah, well, of course he was, because his father was a really sort of miserably bad father who treated him terribly, beat him, locked him in the cupboard as a kid, never gave him any money, and then wouldn't even let him become a young man as he grew up. He had to work in the family business all his life and trail around in a pair of welly boots and collect junk from people's backyards.
And pick up the doings of the horse
That's
all around.
Right.
And
That's
whenever he brought a woman home, he would sort of sabotage it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. Yeah, take his teeth out.
Dirty old man.
You dirty old man. And do you remember in one episode, this to illustrate just what a revolting old man Wilfred Bramble was, he goes into the butcher's, right, and he shuffles to the front of the queue, with his protruding teeth.
And I always remember his fingerless gloves
That's
as well.
Right, fingerless gloves and his hat with holes in it. Yeah. And he'd look at a piece of steak and say to the butcher, and then go, and then sneeze all over it, and then knock it off onto the floor, I'm so sorry. I'll give you 2 shillings and 6pence for it. You know what I mean? All this kind of stuff.
I mean, if I watched it now, I'm not sure I would find it quite as funny. But I
still see some.
I remember howling at it at the time when I was a kid.
Yeah. Now it's Alan Simpson, of course. He was the guy who was one of the writers. Who was the other guy?
The other guy was Ray Galton.
Ray Galton. That's right.
And they wrote for lots of other people. They wrote for Peter Sellers, Leonard Rossiter, Frankie Howard. I mean, funnily enough, somebody tweeted me a thing earlier today about a sort of an interview with him and Galton, in which they talked about how they started.
Yes.
And they started their career by sending a letter to Frank Muir and Dennis Norden.
Right.
When they were writing a show called Take It From Here.
Right.
And just got lucky because they got a letter back, which basically said, well, I'll tell you what, the best thing you can do is write a script and send it to somebody called Gail Pedrick at the BBC script department.
Right.
Who are always looking for new writers.
Excellent.
And that was how it began.
Well, here, I'm looking now at an obituary in the Times, okay? Yeah. They've done very well, the obituary department of the Times this afternoon, because I'll tell you about that in a minute. 3 really huge personalities. But Alan Simpson, it says here that they created the tale of the rag and bone man who aspires to better things but is held back all his life by his conniving father. It became the most popular show on British television during its 12-year run. However, Simpson and his writing partner, Ray Galton, started scripting it only because they'd been sacked by Tony Hancock as the writers of Hancock's Half Hour.
Which was another very funny show.
Well,
Hancock... Which was slightly before my time,
It was slightly before my time. Was that a radio show, by the way?
I believe it was,
but
then it became a TV show as well, I think.
Did it? Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because I've seen clips from it.
Yeah, I have.
Tony Hancock.
I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it says, that vehicle for the gloomy funny man about the frustrations of his mundane life would later be credited with inventing the sitcom, leading to a golden age of classic half-hour comedies on terrestrial television. Wonderful guys. When I first started, mate, in journalism, I had to go to a training college in Newcastle upon Tyne, right? So I was 18.
What did it actually train you in?
How to write.
Not law, obviously.
And law and everything else.
I've got a few tweets on that subject.
And I tell you who came to the college to address us, Ian Lefrene.
Oh, yeah.
And Ian Lefrene was one half of the brilliant writing team that invented and wrote the Likely Lads.
That's right. Did they not do a whole load of things as well?
Oh, they did a whole load of things, but they're most famous for the Likely Lads.
Percy and somebody. Was it Percy?
No, Ian Lefrene and who was the other one? I know them intimately. They both came, actually, but I only remember Ian Lefrene being an outstanding sort of guy.
Well, you only know one of them intimately.
I only know one of them. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Obviously. How about this from Stephen, who says, the lawsuit's just been filed against Porky by Mrs. Trump for $200 million. Damn, that's the free party cancelled.
Well, not only that, I'll have to flog a few properties to pay for that one. That is a shame, isn't it?
Dick Clement is the other one.
Dick Clement, that's right. Ian Lefrene and Dick Clement, thank you. And by the way, what I was going to say about the Times obituary department today, right?
Yeah.
I tell you what, they must have a big department and work very fast indeed. Their leading obituary is Tara Palmer-Tompkinson, who we've spoken about already.
I've just seen I must just interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
Fantastic comment on Wilfred Bramble, and this comes from Dickie G. He said, looks like Jamie Vardy, and he does. He looks absolutely a spitting image of Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Yeah, absolutely right, his face there.
That's amazing.
He, of course, was in A Hard Day's Night.
Who, Wilfred Bramble?
Yeah, he was Ringo's grandfather, I think, wasn't he?
I don't know.
And John Lennon said, he's a clean old man, isn't he?
I don't know the Beatles films terribly well. I mean, I wouldn't look at them, to be honest, because they're not really my kind of thing.
Oh, I would, because the music was brilliant. Anyway, so the Times have got Tara Palmer-Tompkinson, It Girl of the 90s.
Yes.
Then they've got Alan Simpson, one half of the writing duo produced some of Britain's best loved sitcoms. And on the third page, Lord Christopher Thine, photographer and younger brother of the Marquis of Bath. Now, the Marquis of Bath is a very eccentric guy who lives at Longleat, who's painted all his ceilings like the Sistine Chapel.
Isn't it Marquis of Bath, though?
Marquis, yeah.
Not Marquis. Marquis is a tent.
Okay, Marquis.
Marquis.
But I mean, in
you're supposed to know about all this royal stuff.
In upper circles, they call it the Marquis.
No, they don't.
The Marquis.
No.
Anyway, listen, what I'm saying is he's admitted to having at least 100 wifelets during his life.
Yeah.
They're called mistresses for the common working man.
That make him a bad guy.
But it does make him a bad guy. And of course, he's massively eccentric. And I think he's still going, isn't he? He's not dead, is he?
I don't think he's dead,
no. So,
well, he's not in the obituary column, is he?
He's not in the obituary column,
What does his brother do?
His brother was a photographer, apparently.
All right.
Lord Christopher Thine. I do believe in primogeniture, said Lord Christopher
What does that mean?
Thine. I don't know. So I won't bother with it. But getting back to Alan Simpson, right? What a life to have provided so much. I don't know, entertainment, mirth, laughter.
I mean, to make people laugh
for so many people.
Say, and I certainly would never ever consider by putting us in any category like that.
Yes.
But we get an awful lot of communications from people who say they've been having a terrible time, they've had a rough year, having trouble sleeping, and because we make them laugh, it actually makes their life better.
Oh, I'm good.
So I mean, if you are a comedy writer of his kind of ability. And you wrote something like Steptoe and Son.
Yes.
I mean, you must have given, numerous people a fantastic sort of excuse to have a laugh.
Well,
when times were a bit tough.
Well, we hope we're part of that mechanic. Anyway, it says here about the Tony Hancock thing.
Yeah.
They were working for Tony Hancock, right? And they, in fact, invented the line. The much-repeated classic line when he went to the blood donors.
Oh yeah,
blood
donor
clinic.
About you'll just feel a little prick.
No, I don't mind giving a reasonable amount, but a pint, that's very nearly an armful. That was the famous line, wasn't it?
What was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not as big a fan of Tony Hancock as.
Well, I wasn't, but I do remember that line. Really? Anyway, it says eventually, because he was getting more and more bizarre, Tony Hancock, okay? The comedian, that's Tony Hancock, his mental instability got to him and he descended into alcoholism.
Ah.
In 1961, Hancock sacked Galton and Simpson and shortly afterwards embarked on an abortive attempt to become an international star. His career never recovered and he committed suicide in Australia in 1968.
I do remember when Tony Hancock did that because it was a great loss to the comedic world.
He was. It said Tony Hancock didn't even exist before Galton and Simpson and he didn't exist after they left, said the fellow scriptwriter Dennis Norden, who you've already referred to, who in fact made his name on It'll Be All Right on the Night.
He did indeed.
Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Well, again, it was slightly before my time, but I mean, all these characters were remarkably funny.
Yes.
Now, here's one from Matt who says, Richard Hatch also died yesterday at 71. He was famous for playing Apollo in the 1970s sci-fi show Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, really?
And I think I showed you his picture, but neither one of us really... I mean, I didn't watch Battlestar Galactica.
See, much more famous Apollo was Apollo Creed in the Rocky films, wasn't
Apollo Creed is a fictional character.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, so is he. So that Apollo's a fictional character.
Well, so therefore there's no point comparing them, is there?
Yeah, of course there is.
Why would you compare two fictional characters?
Well, all I'm saying
Might as well say Apollo 13 was more famous.
No, the more famous Apollo fictional character to me was Apollo Creed.
What about Apollo, the Greek mythological figure?
I don't know much about it, but I know a lot about Apollo Creed because I've seen that film 2 or 3 times, and he wore Stars and Stripes shorts in the ring, right? Uh-huh. And in the end...
what sort of shorts did he wear, Apollo Creed?
He wore Stars and Stripes shorts. Yes.
In every movie?
What?
In every movie he was in?
Well, he only played Apollo Creed in 2 movies.
What about in the final movie that's just come out?
Final movie that's just come out, haven't seen that
it's
yet.
It's called Creed.
Creed, is it? Oh, yeah, of course, that'll be about him, won't it? Yeah, good thinking.
Well, it's not about him.
Yeah.
It's actually about his son, right? But I'm sure that there may be flashbacks to him in the previous movies.
Right. Are you sure about that?
Dead. Well, I'm not, because I haven't seen it. But since you're such an expert on the Rocky films, I think we should probably do a quiz on it.
I see.
But we are doing a quiz on the Beck's phenomenon, aren't we, coming up?
Hey, listen, yes,
tomorrow.
we are. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is great, about relationships, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
see the time.
Yeah, don't worry about this. This is good.
I'm worried about the time.
Now, Simpson retired from full-time writing after the death of his wife Kathleen in 1978. Okay, they hadn't had any children. All right. They also worked for Frankie Howard, Sid James, Les Dawson. Scripted several films, including The Rebel, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it says then he then spent his life, really, as a self-confessed football nut. But the team that he became an active president of was Hampton and Richmond Borough FC.
Yeah.
So that's obviously near Richmond Park or something like that.
Richmond Rugby Club.
What about this, though? To the end of his life...
It's not that near.
To the end of his life, Simpson travelled to Galton's home in Hampton every Monday morning where they discussed new comedy projects.
So I'm glad you don't do that with me.
So am
you
I.
turning up on my doorstep every morning.
So am I.
I think I'd move.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't move. I'd go next door.
Yeah. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
What do you think of this piece of music?
Quite impressive.
Bluesy, do you like
60s?
Yeah, not bad.
60s?
Not bad. It's sort of around that period.
Okay. Would that be...
I wouldn't expect you to guess it in one because it's quite difficult, but it's the sort of thing you'd like, I would say.
It's got a bit of an Eric Clapton feel about it.
Yeah, not bad, not
bad. So, the blues band.
It's a bit trafficky, maybe.
Yeah,
a little bit sort of
trafficky, blues
a bit like
band.
the Yardbirds. It's actually Manfred Mann.
Manfred Mann, yeah.
And it is a song called The Abominable Snowman.
The Abominable Snowman, okay, yeah, right.
Which, to be honest, I'm not familiar with, but Sam dug it out. Yeah. Because in honour of The Abominable Snowman, we thought we might as well play something relevant. Because we're going to talk to Josh Warren, who is an expert, of course, from JoshuaPWarren.com. And he's a paranormal expert, and he knows all about yetis. And apparently, some people have seen them over in Ukraine. So let's find out from Josh what's going on. Josh, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Not at all.
Great having you on the show. Thank you.
Now, we know these things by several names, yeti-like creatures, Bigfoot, that kind of thing. I mean, Mike Parry said to me a little bit earlier in the show, why have we never seen any pictures of these things? And you do see grainy pictures, you do see, things on YouTube. What's the latest on this thing from the Ukraine?
Well, the honest answer is people have been shooting footage of these so-called Yeti, Bigfoot, Sasquatch-type creatures for decades. I mean, look at how clear the Patterson Bigfoot footage was from 1967, and yet footage alone at face value is just never going to prove anything. Even if Bigfoot is real, imaging alone is not going to do it. We've got to have a body, whether living or dead, and there have been some pretty interesting excursions and expeditions that have collected DNA that cannot be explained, but still, we've got to have a body.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the reasons they want to have a body in this sort of situation, Josh, is because it's good for the tourist industry. Now, I don't know if there's a good tourist industry in the Ukraine, but can I tell you this? Here in Great Britain, we have a loch called Loch Ness. It's in a place called Scotland.
Ness.
The loch, right?
Well, of course he knows where Loch Ness is.
Exactly. And about every 2 or 3 years, amazingly, somebody cites the Loch Ness Monster again, or starts talking about the Loch Ness Monster again because a couple of sheep have been killed. And what happens? Thousands of people then flock to the loch to find out if the monster's real. Is any such thing going on here?
Well, when it comes to all these creatures called cryptids, which cryptid means an animal that may or may not exist, you have to compare it to what we know about biology in general and the impact that a creature makes on the ecology of a region. Now, listen, I am not at all a closed-minded person. My mind is as open as can possibly be. I have talked to many, many people over the years who have seen the Loch Ness Monster, who have seen Bigfoot, who have seen Yetis, and I don't believe that all these people are irrational or are making this up.
Or are fantasists.
I do think they're... Well, that's right. I think they're actually seeing something that looks tangible. However, if we are to reconcile all of these people who see these things, who are giving us good reports with the lack of physical biological evidence, then the only avenue that is open is that maybe we are seeing some kind of a creature that is interdimensional, meaning that it literally is something that is on the boundary of the physical world and the non-physical world that slips in and out. Otherwise, we would have more hair, more scat, and more footprints. And so this is the only way to look at this logically if we respect the reports that come in from people who have actually seen these things.
Okay, Josh, so are we talking here about the original Bram Stoker's Dracula, where in fact it emerged from liquid and fluid into like a solid human being type thing and then disappeared again?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you have to understand the spectrum of the animal kingdom is so vast.
Yeah.
We have creatures that can do all these things that we can't explain. We have electric eels that produce all this voltage, and we don't know exactly how their cells do that. You look at a cuttlefish, okay? A cuttlefish is one of these little fish that is able to camouflage itself automatically when it gets into certain surroundings. Is it possible that there are creatures out there that have reached a certain stage where they camouflage themselves not by changing color or transparency, but literally are able to sort of shift themselves in and out of this dimension that we call physical? And by the way, as crazy as that sounds, you know, our smartest cosmologists and physicists claim there are at least 10 to 12 different dimensions out there, and we're just sort of walking around in 3 of them.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Well, that could be, but I mean, does it then make it impossible for us to ever be able to pin any of this down without finding some form of being able to do the same thing, if you like, to travel between those dimensions?
Well, if indeed we are looking at these creatures that are able to literally slip in and out of that boundary that is physical to us, then yes, that means that probably we're never going to pin it down, because let's get real, guys. Okay, here I am. I'm living in the United States. We have 50 states here, and every single year, every single state has at least one report of a Bigfoot. Now, we're talking about a creature here that's supposed to be 800 to 1,200 pounds, about 7 to 8 feet tall, and yet we can't get a body. I mean, there should be more hair, there should be more footprints, there should be more of an impact on the ecology when you consider that the foresters here are able to go out and give you evidence for every single bird, every little caterpillar that lives in all of these 50 states. How can we conceive that there is some kind of a large ape-like creature that is a normal biological creature that is actually out there that we cannot document scientifically?
Yeah, but also I've come across a report ahead of talking to you, Josh, which is a great privilege, I have to say. For myself, yes. And it's by Oxford scientists, Oxford University, of course, one of the great learning seats of the world, and they say that they've come across some hair which was given to them from, the Himalayas region, and that there could well be a hybrid of polar bears and brown bears existing in the Himalayas at great heights, which man, of course, will never get to.
Well, there may be, and of course, every year there are more discoveries of these strange creatures. Most of them are actually very small. There are a lot of, especially, little insects and things that are discovered every year. But what you find is that sometimes people go out there and they discover hairs and have them tested.
They do.
And the DNA does not match up with anything else in the DNA bank.
Exactly.
And that's the best you can get.
Yeah, well, that means that it must be alien. They must be alien.
But hang on, but we're discovering all the time different species now in the sea around the world in which we live. We're discovering evolved species all over
Josh
the place.
Has just described all that.
But why are we not then discovering what these outside of the Earth creatures might be? Because you would think that we've got scientific ability to do that, haven't we?
Well, the thing is, if you find unknown DNA, then that's all it is, unknown DNA. You have to have some reference, something you can compare it to.
Right.
And unless you have a full intact body, then that unknown DNA is just a big question mark. And scientifically speaking, it's meaningless. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that these creatures don't exist. It simply means that there's no way that we are going to be able to take that DNA and apply it to some conclusion about another creature that is out there.
But could you not at least conclude that if there were an occasional collection of unknown DNA, that should be logged as well, rather than just forgotten about, and someone could say, well, actually, in the last 10 years, we've collected, 55,000 samples of unknown DNA. I mean, is anyone doing that?
Well, the funny thing is, cryptozoology is one of those arenas that is kind of kept on the fringes. I mean, a lot of the people who are highly qualified at these big, bona fide, credible universities are afraid to get near the unknown, which is quite ironic because that's what science is supposed to help us do, discover new things. And yet there's all this social pressure that keeps these qualified mainstream scientists sort of in a shell, and they don't want to be the first person to step out on a limb and say, I think I might be able to take this and apply it to that. And so what you end up with is there is, in fact, a lack of credible, sort of conclusive, comprehensive, cohesive data banks of DNA, and we need that, and we need to tell our scientists that, hey, we're not going to stigmatize you for going out and documenting these things.
Okay. We need it
just
fast.
One final question, please, Joshua. A tweeter from the show has said, can you please ask your guest if he thinks Almas existed in Russia up to the time of World War II? It is rumoured the Russians found them and killed them. These obviously are sort of wild men type creatures, right?
Well, the honest answer is, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly possible. If you look throughout human history, I mean, what we see is this pattern of humans always going out there and killing intimidating creatures, either because they are afraid of them or they want to eat them. Look at the history of how the humans supposedly wiped out Neanderthals, for example. It's certainly possible that what we are seeing in some of these isolated cases are leftovers from the Neanderthal age. So, there's just no way of us knowing this. But what we can definitely say is that every time one piece of evidence comes in, it is incumbent upon us to go out there and tell our scientists, we're not going to stigmatize you. We are going to ask you to please coordinate the DNA that you're getting and to give us some kind of at least a hypothesis about whether or not there is something out there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I agree as well, Josh. Thank you very much.
We should get on with that. Josh, thank you very much indeed. That guy knows what he's talking about.
He does, yeah.
Guy knows
but also, he's right to say,
his nuts, he's
right to say that, that the general sort of scientific community are not collecting the DNA that they haven't spotted because they can't identify it properly. Yeah. They're just discarding it.
But isn't it a fantastic theory that actually these creatures do exist? The yeti, the old Sasquatch, was it?
Sasquatch?
Sasquatch?
Not Sasquatch.
Who is it?
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, yeah. So Sasquatch, the Yeti. Sasquatch,
Think
the
of
Yeti.
Saskatchewan.
And all these sort of weird creatures in the Himalayas. What he thinks is they are literally coming in and out of a parallel universe.
Literally.
Well, that's what he's saying. In and out of a parallel universe. So they're marauding around somewhere in some other world. Yeah. And occasionally, you remember that great series?
It's time, by the way.
Don't worry about that.
We unfortunately are sort of guarded by the one-time space continuum.
Don't worry. You know that great series called Goodnight Darling?
No.
Where Gary Sparrow walks through a gate at the end of his office yard and goes into the 1940s.
In the overcoat?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Good night, sweetheart.
What did I say?
You said good night, darling.
Oh, that's right. Good night, sweetheart. That's the one. And what it means is we've got these yetis who are walking.
There weren't yetis in that show.
No, you idiot. I'm saying.
I'm sure they weren't.
They've got a footprint of a size 16 foot that goes down 6 inches. Uh-huh. The creature that made that footprint must have weighed 200 kilos.
Right.
This clearly.
Where have they got it?
They've got a plaster cast of it.
Where?
In Russia somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, here it is. It says, I heard footsteps. We took a plaster cast.
I'm not surprised.
It would probably have taken a 200-kilo animal to press down that much snow, 5 to 6 centimetres deep. They've got one. I reckon the creature is walking through a parallel universe wall from...
You're saying this, or him?
I'm saying that this is my conclusion from talking to Josh.
Yeah.
And that it's a new revelation to me.
Is it?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise
There's a parallel world somewhere out there.
Yeah.
And I reckon...
That's where you come from, isn't it?
And I reckon the entrance door is somewhere around the base of the Himalayas.
Yeah. Maybe you can go find it. It might be downstairs in the car park.
What?
Stan Collingwood's down there.
Yes, he stands in it, yeah.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Because there's no place I can go. Street life, it's the only life I know. Street life, and there's 1,000.
Now, this is a song I haven't heard for a long time. Is it great?
Yeah, it's good. 1970s.
Yeah,
I know that. Because I hear it on my 70s channel.
You have a 70s channel?
I have a 70s channel.
What 70s channel is that?
Well, it's a special 70s channel. I have an 80s channel. I have a 90s channel.
Do you mean absolute 80s?
Well, I can't say, I mean...
You're talking about the radio?
I don't
know if you're talking about the radio,
I'm talking about...
Is there an absolute 70s?
Well, I listen to Virgin. Well, I listen to music. I listen to Virgin, okay? Uh-huh. But I have access to, 70s, 80s, 90s, all streamed.
That bloke Randy Crawford's good, isn't it?
In my system. That lady Randy Crawford's very good indeed, yeah.
How about this from, let's see, Nick? He says, people forget that the trees will save us. They can communicate through their roots around the world.
They can.
Alex says, we have a loch here in a place called Scotland. I've lived in the USA for 24 years and yet to meet anyone who doesn't know that.
What do you mean?
I think he's making fun of the fact that you were pointing out that there's a place called Loch Ness.
Yes, I know, but I mean...
Because Jim says, damn, everyone will now know Loch Ness is in Scotland and it has a monster.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Well, no, I was just actually... What I was doing is, it's called the drop delay intro, to the...
It's called a drop intro, actually.
Yeah, it was drop delay as far as I'm concerned.
No, it's not a drop delay intro, no.
Yeah, drop delay. And I'm telling you, that's...
I'm telling you.
That is the way to introduce a salient fact into a debate like that, which I found fascinating,
is that
okay?
Right? Andy says this, forget the Loch Ness Monster, tell him about the Trent Polly Hobbit, known for tossing tramps up to 30 metres from stairwells.
What?
I think he's referring to you.
Yeah,
and Ron Starr says,
thing.
Porky used to see Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster most nights of the week after a Benelin bender.
Well, I don't know what the Benelin bender thing's all about. I've never taken Benelin as far as I know.
Not since the time at the Daily Express.
Hey?
The Benelin story goes back to the Daily Express days.
I never took Benelin.
Yeah, you did. I've got witnesses.
What are you on about?
That you got addicted to Benelin because you refused to go home. You were suffering from a cold. And you started drinking Benelin non-stop from morning, noon till night.
Utter nonsense.
Because you were there all the time. You overdosed on it.
Yeah, rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
It's absolute nonsense. I've never heard that story before, and can I say it makes no sense
Tom
to me.
says this, I've never heard Porky so enthralled by a guest. It must be because he keeps agreeing. One wrong word and it's the old cure for cancer treatment.
Well, no. All I would say is that I do find it fascinating to open one's mind to the possibilities that there are other forms of existence within our world.
Yeah.
There must be a parallel universe somewhere. There's got to be.
Why do you think that, though?
Well, because, people say they see things like ghosts and this kind of stuff, like yetis, like Sasquatch, and things like that. And it's never occurred to me before until I spoke to that genius we've just spoken to, a guy called Josh Warren.
Josh Warren, yeah.
That these creatures could be entering our world through a parallel universe door.
Like a sort of door.
That's what I mean, and then going back
again. But they're not an actual door. I mean, you've seen like the episodes of Doctor Who,
yes,
haven't you? When you get in the TARDIS,
yes, that's right.
You spin off into the time-space continuum.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You turn up in a different place. Do you think it's like that?
Yeah, I do. I think it could be like that. Except, as I say, I think it's like the Gary Sparrow Gate. You walk through it, and you're in a
Sparrow Gate.
In another sort of. Literally a parallel universe.
Yeah,
I think it must exist. It's got to somewhere.
Well, then surely if it did exist, it would. There would be more creatures making themselves known to you. And I've never seen, as far as I know, a creature from another universe or another dimension.
None of us have.
Well, you don't know that though.
Well, you do, because if we had, we'd have either quantified them, locked them up in a
the
cell in a zoo or something.
No.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is there might be other humans who have encountered it, because a clip from this forest and a hiker in the Crimean Peninsula of Yalta, right? He says that he saw something which was definitely not human. He says that he saw a yeti-like creature.
Yeah, I know.
So he feels that he has seen that.
But when you literally only see one example of that, to the millions of people on Earth, then you have to put it down to the guy being drunk on vodka in that part of the world.
Well, maybe
or off his rocker.
No, but maybe these creatures come and they I don't know, take the people who see them away.
Yeah.
In order that they don't report it.
Yeah. Listen.
What do you mean? Yeah, you're not interested, are you?
No, I am, but I mean,
decided that's enough of that conversation.
Well, I think we've talked that one out. I want to tell you about something far more important.
Well, it better be more important.
I found
better not be a shortage of anything.
I found it's not sure. I found a survey which says that one thing that drives a lot of people crazy, I mean literally, unstable, bungle, is those who worship money. And
that's what you do.
Money worries can be a fatal obsession. Can drive you to your grave.
Well, that's what you've got, isn't it?
Eh?
You've got a fatal obsession with money.
No.
You're always talking about money. Somebody asked you in Ask Porky just last night, what's more important, good looks or money? You said money.
Well,
whenever anybody asks you what is the root to all happiness, you say money.
Well, I believe that money is a staple need in life, and that if you've got lots of it, life is easier. That's what I believe.
Well, yeah, but that's not quite what you believe, because you actually believe that you fear... I mean, the other thing you've told me is you fear poverty.
I do fear poverty.
So having told me that you fear poverty, having told me that money is the way to have a happier life, having said that money is more important than good looks, then I'm sorry, I have to conclude that you worship money.
Well, I don't worship it. I realise its value a lot more than many people do, who just take life too much for granted. Now, what it says is that, it just bases. I don't want to get too much into this report because it's a bit sad, really. It's a survey of 5,500 people, with mental health problems, but it really does say that, a good percentage of them sometimes are directly linked to people's
but are people who
financial circumstances, and they worry about not having enough money in life.
But is it a worry? I mean, you can worry legitimately about money if you haven't got any, because obviously your life might be difficult.
Yes.
But what I'm talking about are people who are like you, who are not struggling financially, but who still continually worry about money.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. Look, this is very serious, and I'm not making a joke of this. It says Polly Mackenzie, director of the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute, said how we think and feel about our money is not always directly related to the size of our bank balance. People on a reasonable income can find things very difficult too. We know that anxiety over financial decision-making can become a real issue, which in turn makes it harder to manage money well, and so anxiety grows and grows.
Well, yeah, but there's more anxiety if you're struggling to make the bills and make ends meet and pay the bills than there is if you actually have more money than you need.
For some people, this results in a reluctance to spend, even when they could afford to do so, or becoming obsessed with the minutiae of financial management, both for themselves and their family.
Well, you know people like that, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, we all do. People who have got plenty of money, but who never, ever put their hand in their pocket to pay for anything.
Well, there's a guy once...
And you're not one of them.
I'm not one of what?
You're not one of those people who doesn't pay for things.
Oh, no.
You're very generous.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's one of the few nice things I can say about you.
That's very kind of you.
Thank you.
We worked with a guy once, right, and he came in one morning and he said, I've been to see the doctor, why was that, David? And he said...
Why'd you have to give his name away?
Well, I thought I might as well. He lives in the middle of France somewhere now, doesn't he? And
Sasquatch country.
Yeah, Sasquatch country. And he said, I'm physically and mentally debilitated and worn out. And I said, well, really? The doctor put it down to work. And I took him aside. I said, David, you only work the same hours as everybody else here. In fact, I work a lot more hours than you.
Yeah.
But the problem is you commute to the middle of Oxfordshire because your wife wanted a big house in the country.
Yeah.
She insists on being a member of the local tennis club, which is very expensive.
Right.
She insists on having horses for your children. Stabled in the garden.
We've got to stop.
You're stressed out, man, because you can't live up to your wife's expectations.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. This is Talk Sport. Now, I have to say that JPK has come up trumps. He sent us a tweet in which he describes a story from The Mirror about a contestant on an ITV quiz show called Tipping Point, who's almost as much of a plank as you are. And when it comes to answering questions on particular subjects, she was apparently asked a football question, right?
Yes.
And the question was put to her by Ben Shepherd. Between 1991 and 1999, Peter Schmeichel was the goalkeeper for which English football club?
Yes.
And guess what she said?
No.
I mean, even you could answer this one, right?
Yes.
Manchester United.
Yes.
She said Germany.
Germany.
Her name's Bev.
Yeah. Oh, well, never mind, Bev. You know, we all make mistakes, don't we?
Exactly.
Listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about, right?
Yeah, go on.
Have you ever been to a drive-in cinema?
Do you know, I never have.
Right.
But I've driven past loads of them because when I used to live in America, they were quite sort of the thing in parts of rural America.
Yeah.
Like parts of New Jersey.
But you know they've all closed down now.
Well, I believe so. But in fact, I think there's a couple that started up in Britain because they were sort of a novelty thing. But I'm not sure if they ever took off.
Well, do you know what they're going to do? They're going to make virtual drive-in cinemas.
Oh, yeah?
So,
do you know, actually, having said that, do you know, I think I did go to one.
Yeah.
But I was a bit bladderated, so I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, well, exactly. Hopefully you weren't driving.
I wasn't driving, no, certainly not.
Now, what it says is here, what's happening is that they're going to build these huge, like, aircraft hangar-type things, okay?
Yeah.
And you don't even drive in. You go in and you sit in a car inside it.
Oh, what, they've got cars parked inside?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 1950s style cars.
Yeah, like going to one of those diners.
That's right. And the whole thing is a sham because you don't even know you're in an aircraft carrier. What they do is, as soon as the lights go down, they then throw onto a huge number of screens a fading twilight.
Yeah.
Which goes into nighttime.
Oh, what? So you think you're actually under the sky?
Exactly, and all the stars sparkle up and all that kind of stuff. Apparently, it's very romantic.
Is this happening in this country?
It's happening in New York.
Oh, in New York.
And let me see. It said the perfect night growing up was when the fireflies were out there and there was a giant low sailor's moon. It was a transformative experience, so compelling and moving, something every young American will remember.
Well, it was the sort of place
we're bringing it back.
As far as I understand it, I mean, if you watch movies like American Graffiti, where people would go for their first kiss and
that's
that kind
right,
of thing.
All that kind of stuff.
And as you drove in, they would put a sort of a speaker, effectively, that would clip onto the side of the car door.
Right, okay.
So you could hear what was going on the screen.
I see. And then some girl would come round and they'd put like a shelf on your door so you get your hamburgers and your
Well, I'm not sure if they did that in the same places. I'm not sure if they had
okay.
food, but certainly they would probably give you popcorn. But mostly it would seem it was a sort of an exercise in wriggling about on the front seat.
Well, of course it was, yes. Now, the solution to the demand for this is to create a perfect August evening artificially beneath a 40,000 square foot dome. And the first one is opening in Nashville, Tennessee.
So not in New York at all?
Help me information, get me it's Memphis. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not Nashville. Yeah, Memphis, Tennessee.
I thought you said it was in New York. This.
Well, no. This is the company who are doing it are based in New York, but they're doing their first Nashville.
I see.
Now the spring work is due to begin on a vast indoor cinema designed to seem as if it's outdoors. From the outside, the August moon drive-in will resemble a pretty ugly white dome.
Really?
Rising in the shadow of a local football stadium.
An ugly white dome?
Yeah. But
Sounds
you're not
familiar.
outside, you're inside, where it all looks
but
straight.
surely you know you're inside. I mean, how could you possibly drive in something and then be considered stupid enough to be somehow convinced that you were
use your imagination that you're outside.
But if you know you're not outside, you know you're not outside.
No, do you know what they even do? They're going to have machines which, have a gentle breeze blowing through and all this kind of stuff.
Have you ever dined under the stars?
Yeah, plenty of time,
Have
actually,
you?
Yeah.
I mean, like in the top of a proper restaurant with an open roof.
Yeah, I mean, in places like the Caribbean and...
Yeah, but that's when you're in an outdoor restaurant.
Yes.
I'm talking about when you're in a place that's got a sliding roof.
What sort of a place has got a sliding roof?
Well, I can tell you, there's the Hotel du Parry in Monaco.
Yeah.
Which is where I had a meal during my honeymoon.
Yeah.
Shortly after winning a bucket load of money on the casino.
Oh, okay. Well, I might have done.
And what you might have been there. I think you would know.
No,
it's one of the most expensive restaurants in the world.
I might have been to a similar sort of arrangement place.
But what they've got is a sliding roof.
Yeah, well, I've dined in hundreds, if not thousands of places, so there must
have been...
Thousands? Yeah,
Well, you haven't dined in many places with a sliding roof, because I've only dined in one, and I've been to a lot more restaurants than you have.
Have you?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Because I just know that I have, because I go around the world looking for decent restaurants, whereas you don't.
Yeah?
You go around the world looking for places to drink.
Hey, listen. Anyway, let's get...
You want to know any more about it?
Well, I'm telling you this first, okay?
All right.
Not interested in that. It says it will be black on the inside. Onto this black... What's your problem?
Well, I mean, what more is there to say?
Hang on. Onto this black canvas will be projected a setting sun and a warm, starry night.
Well, what if it's already dark?
Starry night.
What if it's already dark?
Beneath the dome, before a big screen, classic cars will be parked in rows on a grassy field, okay?
Yeah, but you already know you're inside. What's
and you
the
leave
point?
your real car outside.
And what, in a car park?
Yeah, that's right.
What's the point of that?
The sun goes down for over 45 minutes before the movie comes on.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what?
I don't know.
They are importing fireflies to fly around.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, full-size trees, grass, vintage cars.
Full-size tree?
Yeah, and a sailor's moon.
How big is a full-size tree?
A full-size tree can be 35 feet.
Yeah, but it could be any size, is my point. I mean, a
full-size
tree, I mean, it could be...
bigger than saplings, put it that way,
redwood,
okay? Yeah.
You know.
Right, the cinema will seat 350 and is to open shortly. Nashville, deemed the most American of US cities in a survey, was the ideal... Yeah, the most American city in a survey. Seemed the ideal place to launch it, okay?
It's just come up... People come up with this, the same people that come up with the flat bottles of wine and put through your letterbox.
Well, I'm not sure. The idea is to expand it elsewhere. The guy who's organising it said... People everywhere love vintage cars, burgers, and shakes.
What a load of old cobblers. I can't think of anything worse. So basically you drive up to a place which looks like a massive aircraft hangar.
That's right.
You then get out of your car, park it somewhere, walk for about half a mile, go inside the aircraft hangar.
That's right.
At which point somebody tries to convince you that actually it's not an aircraft hangar and in fact there is no roof on it.
It's absolutely right.
So when you sit down in a fake car in order to watch a movie in some kind of dubious circumstance, they then pretend the sun is setting. Shortly before putting fireflies all over the place to make it seem like it's now dusk.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
As the kind of movie starts.
That's right.
What a load of old rubbish.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. I think it's good.
I think my story's far more interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm not
I told you this before, didn't I?
What?
When we drove to Monte Carlo and I had a Peugeot 205 at the time.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't the greatest of all cars, but I was very happy to be driving
smallest cars
on the Corniche. I mean, it was great, though, to drive from Nice over to Monte Carlo. Got into Monte Carlo, and my wife at the time said that she kept seeing the number 16.
Yes.
Right? And so we pulled into the car park underneath the Hotel de Parry.
Yes.
And we pulled in for some reason to the second level where there were no cars parked. And you know when you go into an underground car park and you just go, I don't know where I'm going to park. I'll just pull into this space here. Pulled into this particular space at random. And guess what number it was? 16.
16?
Yeah. And she'd been talking about number 16 all the way over.
What about, why 16?
She just said, I keep seeing the number 16.
Who?
My wife.
Sorry, you're saying she had some sort of, like, visionary...
Yeah. She had some kind of vision about the number 16.
What, just because the parking slot you're in was number 16?
No, all the way from Nice to Monte Carlo, which is a good hour's drive, right?
You didn't tell her to shut up about 16?
No, because she said... Well, she knew we were going to a casino, right?
Yeah.
And she said, I keep seeing the number 16. And I kept saying, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? But then when we pulled into the car parking space and it was number 16...
Yeah, but hang on.
I thought, well, maybe there's something to this.
Well, hang on, you just told me that the car park was empty of any other cars.
It was.
Well, then you just chose 16,
Yeah,
didn't you?
but I didn't choose it.
Well, of course you did.
No, I didn't. I just pulled into a space, and it was only when I got out of the car that I happened to see that it was number 16.
The number would have been under the car by that stage.
No, it was at the back, actually, outside of the white line.
Yeah, what's the point of this story?
The point of the story is that we then went into the casino, which was a lot less posh than I thought at first, because we dressed up for it. We were on honeymoon, right? So I saw a lot of people at the fruit machines. We went into the back room where they had the blackjack.
Yeah.
And we went straight to the first blackjack table and we put our money on number 16. And guess what?
We didn't win.
It came up.
No.
I'm not joking.
No.
We won $700.
No.
We won $700, which I then took upstairs to the restaurant, which had a sliding roof, which we could sit and look at the stars.
Yeah, okay.
And I spent $500 on dinner.
Wow.
And it was a magnificent evening.
Don't get much for $500 in the south of France.
Well, you're talking about 1987.
Well, you know.
Dinner for two, $500 was a lot of money. Trust me.
Dinner for two, not dinner for one.
No, not dinner for one. No, I was married. Something you've never been. On a honeymoon. Somewhere you've also never been.
Yeah, no,
with a wife. Something you've never had.
And divorced, I've never been.
No, you haven't.
And abandoned children, I've never done.
I've never abandoned any children.
You know? And,
I've never abandoned any children.
You know, throwing the keys of my house into the East River, I've never done.
Why are you incapable of having any joy about anybody else in the world? Why can you not share my joy that this number 16 thing was an interesting, bizarre occurrence?
I think overall, your ex-wife would rather reflect on a sad and broken experience in her marriage, rather than,
incorrect.
Oh, the wonderful moment 16 came up.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a tiny little pinprick of light and happiness in an otherwise nightmarish existence with you.
Yeah, but your nightmarish existence just goes on and on and on. The only little light that you get in your life is to come in here for 3 hours a night.
I don't have a nightmarish existence, mate.
This is Talk Sport.
Life's a ball.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Confidence is a preference for the habitual voyeur of what is known as. A morning suit can be avoided if you take a route straight through what is known as. John's got brewer's fruit, he gets intimidated by the dirty pigeons. They love a bit of him. Who's that gut Lord marching?
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Coming up very shortly, it's going to be time for Porkyvision, of course, in which you will discover which programmes you should be watching and which programmes you should not be watching. Andy says this, not sure L'Hotel de Parry in Monte Carlo would do l'alphabetti spaghetti, even in a parallel universe. A lot of people are talking about the parallel universe, though. Scott says, Porky has the attention span of a squirrel when you are talking to him. # nuts.
I think not.
And Ben says, bloody hell, Mike Graham trying to tell Mike Parry that 16 story was hard work. Who? What? Eh?
Yeah, but I mean, it was just such a vague.
I don't think it was vague. It's pretty unusual to win money.
Of non-facts.
It's pretty unusual to win money at the roulette table in any event, but to do it because there was some particular number which somehow, it made itself available, I think is very, very odd.
Indeed.
Do you not?
Not really.
You don't?
Anyway,
you ever won money on a roulette table?
Me, no, not
Why not?
really. I don't play a lot of roulette, to be honest. I think it's roulette is just a matter of luck and all that. If I go to a casino, I play blackjack.
Do you?
And I feel there's an element of skill in that.
Well,
more so. I mean, look, on a roulette wheel, it's luck, isn't it?
Well, it's luck, but it's also knowing the odds as well. It's also knowing, for example, when black and red are going to come up, because some people only do black and red.
Yeah.
They don't actually do any individual number, or they do a cluster of 4 numbers.
Yeah, but that's still
like
a guessing game.
Well, so to some extent is any card game, unless you're actually capable of counting the cards and knowing exactly what's coming out. And if you get too good at that, they ban you from the casino anyway.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Robert De Niro breaks your hand with a hammer.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. Have you seen the building of the new Apple HQ?
Where?
Just outside San Francisco.
I have not.
It is quite sensational.
Wow.
Right, it's going to cost $5 billion.
It's a massive, great big circle.
$5 billion. If you came out of one door of that circle, Mike, right, and you said, I'll turn left and walk round and come back, you would walk 1 mile.
All the way around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how huge it is, right?
Okay.
It is now...
Is it going to be bigger than the Pentagon then? Probably not.
I don't know. But if you look at that aerial picture, you see the things on the roof.
Yes.
They're storage sheds.
Oh, yeah.
So you can get that as a perspective. You see what I mean? See those tiny squares?
Oh, you mean what sort of, solar panels? You mean?
No, they're storage sheds. They keep equipment in them and cars and people walk around in them and all that kind of stuff. It's the most massive building that's been built in America since...
Probably since the Pentagon, I would imagine.
No, since Bill Gates built his home and the HQ of Microsoft in Seattle.
Okay.
It
says it's going to be a donut, so it's not actually going to be a solid circle, is it? So it's just going to be a round building.
Oh, yeah. In the middle, there's going to be like parks and all this kind of stuff and all that. But, I mean, this is a company who can afford to spend $5 billion on their new HQ offices.
Well, I'm not surprised, given how much they charge for all their equipment.
It is
because, I mean, as much as you might say that their stuff is very good, which it is, although they're losing track in the phones department, but in terms of their PCs and things like that, laptops, they're an awful lot more, maybe sometimes 5 times as more than it is if you want to buy just an ordinary PC.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I mean...
Well, it's true. I mean, you've got a PC at home, right? A laptop, which costs you probably about £300, right?
$350,
something like that. I mean, you cannot get an Apple laptop for less than about $1,000.
Well, yeah, but people buy them, so they must rate them.
But that's what I'm saying.
Like them and
people
all that
like
kind
them.
Of
One of the reasons they like them is because they are much better at not being interfered with by hackers and people like that, viruses and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there is a problem now with the phones, I think, because now people are working out that they actually prefer Android phones, like Samsung phones and things like that, rather than Apple phones, because Apple phones haven't really done anything else.
Is that right?
Since about 3 years ago,
But you see all the facts and the figures of that building. It's quite remarkable.
More than 2,500 varieties of indigenous trees will initially be planted to return to the scenery to its former orchard splendour.
That's in the middle.
Yeah. Lord Foster, so it's being built by Foster, isn't it?
Foster, the British architect.
The British architect, you didn't mention that.
Who's built, That's
quite an important fact,
of course it is. He's built many of the world's greatest buildings, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. The site, which part of which was acquired from tech rivals Hewlett-Packard, was previously covered by concrete.
Yeah.
Little remains of the former buildings, though Apple has preserved a centuries-old barn. Yeah. And it's going to be eco-friendly, generated 13,000 construction jobs.
Yeah.
It's going to cost £4 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. $5 billion. Yeah.
Which is, quite remarkable.
Oh, it's incredible. And talking about buildings, by the way, it was confirmed today that the Liver building in Liverpool, which is a protected building, has been sold to a company in Luxembourg. Liverpool's most famous building has been sold for the first time in more than 100 years to a property investor in Luxembourg.
We were talking about this a while ago, weren't we?
We knew it was for sale, but the sale has gone through.
Yeah, because you thought it was still owned by some insurance company up there, right, which hasn't owned it for a while.
Well, Royal Liver. The Grade 1 listed Royal Liver building, which is flanked by a liver bird on each tower. And they're huge, by the way. If you see them brought down to be cleaning and all that, they're massive. Was sold to Coruscant Capital Holdings for £48 million. The property is located on the city's UNESCO-protected waterfront, which also features a monument to the Beatles. It's called the Three Graces, actually, those buildings.
They are, indeed, yeah.
There's the three of them. The other one of the others was the headquarters of Cunard for many years.
Which is no longer the headquarters of Cunard anymore, right?
It's not, though.
No.
The building's owner, Royal London Mutual Insurance Society, put it on the market 4 months ago for the first time since it opened.
How much did it sell for?
$48 million.
Wow.
Seemed cheap, that, to me.
Well, that's a lot of money for a building, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a magnificent building, though. Since its opening in 1911, the Royal Liverpool Insurance Group, of course, they said it's going to invest substantial funds to preserve the office block.
Presumably they're going to have to gut it from the inside, though, right?
Well, I would imagine so, yes.
Because it would be not really fit for purpose.
I bet you a lot of it is still 1911 architecture inside, which they'll have to do. Now, I've got some great news for everybody.
Have you?
Including you. Guess what?
What?
Guess how you keep yourself fit and happy and in a good mental state as you grow older?
I've no idea.
You sing.
Sing.
You sing.
Okay, well, luckily I'm a very good singer.
You sing.
Perhaps we could have a little bit
dance.
A little blast of me singing Don't Look Back in Anger.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that. Yeah, but you see, you were so bladerated.
People said that my voice was so good that they couldn't get enough of me hearing about it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Unfortunately, your singing perhaps is not quite as good.
Mine sings great. People, as they get older, should be encouraged to sing. Now, that means that I could do a bit more singing here to help my flock and help our millions of followers, okay?
I don't think that would be a particularly good
listeners. Idea. It says that also get involved in things like museum visits, art, photography and writing. It boosts well-being to people who are moving into early middle age, as I am.
Yeah.
But mostly
early
just
middle
sing.
age.
Sing.
Do you sing in the shower?
Me? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Do you sing sort of as you're walking around the house? Even if there's no music playing?
No, not really. No. Not really. No, I prefer to sing to an audience because I get more appreciation for it then,
really?
Okay?
Do you sort of hum then sometimes?
Sorry?
Do you hum? I sometimes find myself humming.
Yeah, maybe sometimes. Do you know the people I cannot stand and I will not tolerate are the whistlers?
Well, maybe it says, does it not say whistling is good for you as well?
No, whistling's not good for you. If I'm in a queue, in a shop or something like that, and somebody's giving it the old bit of a whistle behind me or something, I actually turn round and say, I beg your pardon?
Well, leave it out.
Yeah, and I said, sorry, were you speaking to me?
People don't normally whistle in a queue,
They do, honestly.
Really?
These weirdos, they kind of whistle.
You must go to some very funny queues.
Now, it says other key factors which keep your mind alert, apart from singing, is having a social network. So I tick the box on that.
Yeah.
Good health, tick the box on that.
Well, you haven't got good health. You've only 1/3 of your heart works.
Well, that's true, but I mean...
So you can hardly describe yourself as being in good health.
Good other health.
Good other health.
Financial security. And those who are most content are those who find that they have worked out the equation, that they have enough money to last them for the rest of the life they think they'll lead.
Well, how does this combine with the other story you were telling us about earlier, where people who are a bit obsessed with money actually are very unhealthy? And if you've got plenty of money, but you worry about it, then you are healthy.
Well,
which is the right answer.
I think the people who get stressed out and then sadly suffer, some sort of mental pressures are those who haven't got enough money. But when you get to a certain age, there's a factor. There's a certain age factor that you get to when you say, actually, it doesn't matter now because I've got enough to last me.
Is that where you are then?
Yes, I would say so.
Is it?
Well, I mean, if I live another 20 years, right, which I don't think I will.
Really?
Well, I'm sure
you've already reconciled yourself to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. The old ticker won't last that long. I could
it's
live
a bit final, isn't it?
Well, you have to face these things, I'm afraid. You have to face up to these things. Then I can live the same lifestyle I live now for 20 years, no problem.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
That's not a problem.
What if suddenly some madman takes over, like Jeremy Corbyn gets into power, and decides to completely and utterly defenestrate anyone that owns property, and charge them an extra 25 or 30% tax on everything that they own?
Well, A, I don't see that coming in my lifetime, and B, you would have to cope with that as a human being. Like, for instance, how many millions of people over the last sort of 10
You'd have to leave the country.
Years. Well, and go where? That's the problem.
Go and live somewhere else.
In the last 10 years, how many people's lives have been shattered and smashed to pieces and they've been financially ruined by the idiotic policies of Western politicians who just wanted to get big and start introducing democracy across the world, across the Middle East, which doesn't recognise democracy.
I don't know where you got to that subject from.
Because they've had their lives smashed to pieces. Have you ever been to Aleppo lately?
I've never been to Aleppo.
That used to be a really prosperous, middle-class town where doctors and lawyers and businessmen...
We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, doctors and businessmen
used to... we didn't bomb Aleppo. Your mate Putin bombed Aleppo, and what's his face?
Assad.
The Assad Premier League, Premier sort of league of bombing, bombed Aleppo.
I agree, because of the disruption which was wrought upon the Middle East by Western powers.
Well, you say that, but I think that's
I'm telling you, if nobody invaded Iraq, if nobody had liberated Libya, Syria wouldn't now be in the state it's in. I know these things.
Cobleros. Anyway, fortunately, it's Porkyvision coming next.
Okay.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM, Talk Sport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's the problem?
That music can only mean one thing. It is time, of course, for the TV review that everybody can't wait to hear. It is where Mr. Parry tells you about which shows he's been watching, which shows he's going to give away the end to, and what is not worth watching at all.
Right.
So where would you like to begin?
Well, listen, I suppose we better begin with Apple Tree Yard, OK?
Yes.
Because that's concluded now. I have to say, it was gripping. A lot of the action moved very slowly.
A lot of gripping going on.
A lot of gripping going on. A lot of the action moved slowly, but that was for dramatic effect and that kind of stuff. But anyway, the doctor in the end, 51-year-old doctor, geneticist, gets off a murder charge at the Old Bailey. How about that?
Are you sure you want to give that away?
What?
Some people might not have seen
that. Well, tough luck. I've seen it, and so you've got to up your act and get on with it, OK? But let me tell you this. What is revealed during the course of the trial is that the chap who's been her lover, OK?
Yeah, the civil servant.
Yeah, not the rapist, a lover, wasn't in fact a spook in MI6 or MI5. He was merely head of security at the Crown Estates.
Oh, so he was just pretending to be a spook?
Well, he never said he was a spook. He just let her assume that.
But he didn't dissuade you from the idea, did he?
But anyway, the guy's a complete sleazebag, right? Because she's actually lied in court. She denied that there'd been a relationship between them, okay?
Right.
But the barrister prosecuting found out, and so she had to admit she was a liar in court. So you all thought, well, she's going to be done.
Right.
But then,
perjury, surely.
Well, hear me out. But then she said, I may have lied, but I'm not a killer. I didn't know what he was going to do when he went round there to confront my attacker. So he gets off murder and is done for manslaughter. She gets off both murder and manslaughter by a jury who are very sympathetic to what she's been through.
I see.
But during the course of this
evidence... What about the victim?
He's dead.
Yeah, no, I know. But, I mean, what about his family and people who might feel that
they shouted things like, bitch, at her,
really?
from the public gallery.
On the radio?
Oh, I think it's all right at this time of night.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. But anyway, during the course of the evidence, there is another dramatic moment. This sleazebag guy, I mean, he's...
What, the security guy?
Yeah, he's trying his hand everywhere.
Is he?
Now, I'll explain why I've used that expression. So a policewoman is in the witness box, police sergeant, who works with the Crown Estates.
Now, he's in the dock, this guy.
This guy's in the dock, but she's in the witness box, the Crown Estates. Right. And they're talking about the working relationship with sleazebag, and she says, it's very professional. But then this barrister woman, very hard-hitting barrister woman, says, and it was just professional. And she said, yes, of course. And she's a police sergeant in uniform, know. And she said, I see. Did you socialise at all? No. Did you ever meet in the course of work? Occasionally. For lunch. May have had a cup of coffee.
She says this.
This is the police sergeant. Anyway, we get down to, but you did meet, didn't you, for a drink? Well, yes, okay, we did, yeah. And he put his hand on your knee, didn't he? I can't remember. Well, think. Oh, yes, he did, yes. And then, this is a policewoman in uniform.
Uh-huh.
Did he then move his hand up?
Well, how did they know that?
Well, because the guy in the dock has told the barrister.
Oh, okay.
You see?
Right, so he's already said that she's not going to be able to give evidence against me on account of our previous encounter.
Exactly. So the barrister says...
What are the chances of that?
Eh?
What are the chances of that happening?
Chances of what?
Well, of you being charged with murder and the woman who's coming to give evidence against you as a police officer, it turns out to have been one of your many girlfriends.
Well, she was actually there for character reference purposes, you see. I mean, it's all a bit odd.
Oh, so she was defending him?
No, she was being cross-examined by both sides as his behaviour because he was trying to claim manslaughter on grounds of diminished responsibility.
Oh, I see.
They were trying to find out whether he was a nutter or not.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So was she appearing on his behalf then?
Well, she was called by the court.
No, I know, but on whose behalf?
Well, that wasn't made clear because she was cross-examined by both.
Right.
So then the barrister lady says, and did he move his hand up your leg underneath your clothing, your skirt?
Very personal question.
Yes, actually, he did, yeah. And what happened next? Well, I suggest he then rearranged your underwear. I mean, this is, yeah.
And then, shocking story.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And so it gets to the point where this poor woman's crying. She has to admit that he has interfered with her.
Really?
Yeah.
So her testimony goes out the window.
Well, gone completely, and a bit more of his reputation as well. You know what I mean?
And how does the other woman react at this point?
Oh, she's crying all the time.
Yeah.
Well, you would if you were facing 20 years in jail for murder. You know what I mean?
Well, especially if you hadn't committed it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, but I think she did actually.
Did?
I mean, well, I think she kind of knew the boyfriend's going around and batter him to hell.
Yeah, but she didn't actually physically kill the guy.
Well, this is a twist at the end. At the end, there's a flashback of the two of them in bed together, in which he says,
her and the security guy,
her and the security guy, in which he says, "What do you want me to do? Just frighten him off?" And she says, I want you to kill him. So,
but people say those things all the time.
Well, this is the point. Anyway, let's move on to
12 Angry Men.
Let's move on to Taboo.
Okay.
Where I saw the most graphic Rogerization scene I've ever seen on television.
Really?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
What happens is, the little guy who was in The Night Manager, who Tom Hiddleston eventually killed.
That's right, by the fence.
Because otherwise the little guy was going to tell the big boss that Tom Hiddleston was the spy.
Yes.
And then Tom Hiddleston went to see the big boss, who was played by British actor Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie from House, yeah.
From House. He said, I had to kill him. He'd escaped through the fence, which, of course, Tom Hiddleston had escaped through. He said, I got him coming back. I've done him. Oh, right, okay, yeah. Well, he is in Taboo. He is some kind of alchemist.
Alchemist?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a chemist, isn't it?
Kind of.
Kind of, that's
right,
yeah.
A bit more than a chemist.
So anyway, he is, and he's only small, of course.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there.
Same size as he is in The Night Manager.
Exactly. But Tom Thumbish, if you know what I mean.
Well.
So he's, and his name is Tom somebody in real life, isn't it?
Thumb.
No, not Tom Thumb, you fool. No. But anyway.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there when all of a sudden this, I have to say, very attractive woman comes into the room.
Yeah.
In a flowing dress.
Yes.
Right? This is important about the flowing dress.
Is this in a brothel?
No, this is not. This is in his workplace.
All right.
It's in his workplace.
Uh-huh.
So she comes in and, he gives her the old sort of...
It's Tom.
This is Tom, yeah. Gives her the hard to... what's that word called when... hard to get. Hard to
get?
What's the expression?
Hither.
Hey?
Come hither?
No, what's the expression when somebody's playing hard to...
Hard to get.
Hard to get, okay,
You said hard to get.
Hard to get, okay.
So he's playing hard to get?
No, yeah, he's saying he's not that impressed by this beautiful woman who's walked in.
Okay.
But anyway, in the next scene, beautiful woman is spread-eagled across the table.
Right.
With her clothing rearranged.
Uh-huh.
And little Tom
Yeah.
is standing behind her and gyrating his body at a rate which he could literally have been on a treadmill.
Really?
I mean, it's,
He's running.
Well, you're not running.
He's standing on a box.
No, he's not even standing on a box, but the gyration of his body backwards and forwards is so dramatic.
It's a good acting role, then.
Yeah, good acting role. It's so dramatic. It's you can hear it banging on the table like this,
Okay.
Like
well,
this.
That's enough graphic description.
And this lady is sort of, doing a bit of gasping and this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's pretty obvious what is going on.
Yes.
Pretty obvious what's going on. But he's treating it as like an everyday sort of occurrence because what happens then
is...
Eh?
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Maybe he gets up to this every day. Because then the lead actor in Taboo...
Yes. There was also called Tom.
Tom Hardy.
That's him.
Who used to play the gangster in Peaky Blinders.
From Camden.
Because both are written by the same man.
Yes.
The brilliant Stephen Knight, okay?
Right.
He walks in to the room and old little Tom, right?
Yeah.
Who's,
He's still doing it.
Getting away with this.
Yeah.
He just turns to him, starts talking to him, but doesn't stop.
Right.
And so...
But you can stop, though.
Yeah, exactly. So this lady who is, sort of the counter-indulger in this Rogerisation... No, you don't really find out who she is. No, in this sort of Rogerisation is, not at all flummoxed. Maybe this sort of thing used to happen in those days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Tom says, we have business to talk about. And so he says, can't you wait?
Yeah.
And Tom Hardy says, no, I can't. He says, oh, damn, So then he
So he
sort
has
of...
to stop.
Yeah, so he says to this lady, can you get lost now, please, And they then start talking business.
Yes.
But along...
Because the small Tom, is he not kind of in the pay of the big Tom?
Well, I think he's trying to recruit him to do something for him.
I mean, he works for him, as it were.
Yeah, I think so. Well, no, I think he wants him to work for him.
Yeah.
So that was a very graphic scene, which I have to say shook
upset
me up
you?
a little bit.
Did it?
Well,
you obviously remembered it quite well.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I want to see too many scenes like that again,
really?
to be honest.
When does it finish, this Taboo?
Eh?
When does it finish?
Taboo?
Yeah. How many more parts do we have
there's
to see?
I think it's 2 more parts.
Really?
2 more parts.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway...
I still don't know what it's about, really.
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah. It's one man's battle against the East India Company.
I know that.
I told you that. I've worked that out.
Well, I know that, but it still doesn't really make any sense.
Anyway, getting back to Halcyon.
Halcyon.
Yeah. Halcyon. Now, this is all getting, to the stage where somebody's going to get killed sooner or later in the war and all this kind of stuff. Wars blowing up and...
It's got a bit boring, that show, hasn't it?
It got a bit boring. But what's emerging is that Lady Hamilton... right?
Lady Hamilton.
The widow of Lord Hamilton.
Yes.
Who died whilst romancing his mistress.
So she's the mother, I suppose, of the new Lord Hamilton.
She is indeed.
Yeah,
who's a Spitfire pilot himself, a squadron leader. He's going to cop for it, I'm afraid, She has found a new love, and she's now gaily engaging in horizontal refreshment.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's all happening then?
With a bow.
Why have they suddenly gone mad for all this physical exertion? Why does every show now have to have all this
There's
stuff?
a lot in it. And one more thing I've got to say is, because I'm catching up on a few Coronation Street episodes, Maria in Coronation Street, 1 minute, right?
Maria?
Maria. 1 minute, she's in jail, accused of murdering another person in Coronation Street who's disappeared, but it's not actually been murdered.
Right.
And the next minute, when they found evidence that she hasn't committed murder, she's released. And guess what?
What?
Some bloke who's turned up claiming to be Ken Barlow's son.
Okay.
Suddenly in there with horizontal refreshment the minute she's out of jail.
Oh,
and the woman's got no shame.
Yeah. Sounds
no
to me
shame.
like whoever's taken over running all these TV channels is
I totally agree.
Mad.
Totally agree. Gone obsessed with...
what happened to just the old crime stories?
Refreshment? No idea. But I mean, I have to say, it's rather overwhelming these days.
It really is.
If you're a person of a certain temperament and nature, you know, where do you go for...
Well, thankfully you don't focus on it.
Where do you go for old-fashioned, dramatic interpretation these days?
Yeah, I mean, Steptoe and Son wasn't like that, was it?
Steptoe and Son wasn't like that.
There was none of that sort of thing.
No.
That was Porkyvision.
Yes,
same
Porkyvision.
time next week, there'll be another update on the Rogerisation scenario.
Thank you.
This is Talk Sport.
Thank you.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
David Beckham.
Yeah.
And it will also be, of course, another edition of Postman Pork.
It definitely will be.
And if you want anybody to send Postman Porkish type stuff in,
yes,
which I mean, not that you want to encourage people to send you gifts or anything.
No,
like
no, not at all.
But a lot of people seem to be doing that.
Yes, well, please, we are receptive of anything really for the Postman Pork
when you
bag.
say we,
yes.
I mean I don't see anything coming my way.
No, well, don't worry, I share things out around here.
Do you?
And Postman Pork is at Talksport Towers, which is 18 Hatfields, Hatfields, which is London. SE18DJ, and we will be going through your letters tomorrow night, as well as the Porky quiz, which is on David Beckham.
Absolutely right.
Followed the boy's career, very closely, so I won't have any problems there. I predict 7 out of 10.
JPK says, 2 hours, 27 minutes in, finally you speak some sense about demagogue Western politicians and their selfish interest in the Middle East.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
So you've got at least one supporter if you're running manic ideas.
Now then, we have to go on record as saying we are big supporters and fans of black cabs on this show, are we not?
We certainly are.
However, you cannot ignore the way the world is working, and I was absolutely amazed to read that Uber, who are a rival taxi organisation,
they upset a lot of black cab drivers.
They do upset a lot of black cab drivers, and I understand exactly why, because they work through a different role model. But this won't upset the cab drivers, because what I'm going to tell you about is that Uber say within 3 years they will have flying taxis.
Flying taxis?
Which you can use across London.
Well, that's ridiculous.
The days of commuters zipping to work in Jetson-style vehicles have come closer. Uber has recruited a pioneer of flying car design from NASA in America.
Well, NASA haven't made any flying cars.
Well,
so how does this guy know how to make a flying car?
The company has appointed Mark Moore, a 30-year veteran of the space agency, to a new role as Director of Aviation in charge of Uber Elevate Flying Taxi Project.
Has anyone told him that we've got gravity on this planet?
Well,
maybe he's come up with a flying car where there's no gravity.
It says Dr. Moore's research on vertical takeoff and landing vehicles is believed to have inspired Larry Page, the Google co-founder, to establish 2 startups to develop working models. Uber's entry into the market makes the idea of widespread adoption more credible.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm going to see a flying car inside 3 years in any part of the world. I mean, you were talking the other week about the fantastic warehouse in the sky, right?
Yes.
That Amazon were going to put up there, that was going to sort of float.
Yes.
It's as if it was not necessarily floating on, I don't know, air, but it was going to be like a big balloon.
Yes.
But you can't create a flying car out of nothing.
Well,
we don't have the technology.
Well, we do have the technology, honestly.
No, we don't.
We do.
Well, where have you seen anything that looks anything like a flying car?
Well, until you saw a hovercraft. What did you see anything like a hovercraft? You didn't.
But a hovercraft is a lot easier to develop, because all you've got to do is have an air cushion.
Anything's easy to develop once you understand the technology and you've got it going.
Well, no, it's much easier to understand and develop something which has an air cushion but is in touch with the Earth.
Yes.
Right, and just happens to be driven by propellers.
Yes.
In order to make it move.
Yeah.
Much more difficult to come up with technology which enables you to lift a car into the air and make it propel forwards and backwards.
Well, to be honest, Mike, they're not cars. They are, in effect, aeroplanes, but they are called, flying taxis. And
aeroplane for one.
No, aeroplane for up to 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, the point is that we've all seen aircraft where you have an engine like this, right? You're looking at me, horizontal like that. And when it goes up, it can be vertical takeoff and landing. The engine goes like that.
Yeah.
And it takes the vehicle straight
up.
up.
We've seen Harrier jump jets.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is a smaller version of that.
Well, you're not going to get somebody picking you up in a jump jet, are you?
They have propellers. Now, what happens is, because obviously you say, well, you need a load of ground to land a flying taxi.
Well, exactly. You couldn't just take one home, could you?
No. Well, you can. What happens is this. What will develop is that new buildings in London and other major cities like Tokyo and Sydney, everywhere else, will develop flying taxi depots on their roofs.
I see.
So what happens
Good luck with doing it on the Shard.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they'll just have to, put a shelf on it or something like that.
A shelf?
Yeah, because what I'm saying is this. We are now experiencing the worst ever problem getting across London in cars.
Not if you're on a tube, you're not. You lose a tube.
Well, in a car, what I'm saying is, because so much road space has now been stolen for cyclists who don't use it, by the way, it's a massive plot against the motorists.
Well, they use it about 2 hours a day.
They don't even use it for 2 hours a day.
No, they do. In the mornings and the late afternoon rush hour, they do.
And then huge banks of the road are given over to blocks of bikes, which nobody ever seems to be using. I mean, the whole thing is a terrific contract.
It is a contract.
Against the motorists.
That's true, I agree with you. But if you went on the tube, you would find it quite quick to get across London.
Anyway, the point is, what happens is, if you were coming from the north on the M1, you would probably go to a building near Wembley Stadium. And there is a big square building there on the A406, isn't there? The Ring Road.
Well, there's all sorts. There's an IKEA.
Yeah, there is. That's right. Yeah.
There's the big. There's a big Hindu temple.
That's right.
There's also, I think, the Wembley sort of exhibition centre.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Flat
so you would then park your car there.
Yeah.
Right. You'd just walk into the terminal, you'd pay your money, get on your Uber taxi, and that would fly you, for instance, if you were going to a meeting in the city, onto the roof of a building in the city. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
Well, I do.
I mean, I see it happening in some kind of futuristic world.
I do.
About 100 years from now, but I don't see it happening in 3 years.
It says within 3 years,
That's
okay?
rubbish.
It says the technology will cut travel time from San Francisco to downtown San Jose,
right,
from an hour and 4 minutes by road to 15 minutes by air taxi.
Well, that's more like a helicopter, really, isn't it?
Yes,
I mean, you're talking about going from one town to one city to another.
Yeah.
In America.
Yeah, but they're talking about doing it across town, not just between towns. Okay,
right. But that doesn't seem like something you could do in London. I mean, America, they can do stuff like that probably much easier because they've got much more room.
Yes, I agree.
They haven't got much room here.
Yes, I agree. It says the cost of that trip eventually will be $20.
Also, most Uber drivers I've ever seen don't seem to know where they're going. So that's what everybody says. So, I mean, you want to make sure that if you're going to have people doing this, you better get some people who actually know where they're at.
Well, it says here...
because otherwise you're going to end up in the wrong city.
It says here...
You get on the Brent Cross, you end up in Norwich.
It says here, Dr. Moore, that's Dr. Mark Moore, the 30-year veteran, predicts that we will see several prototype flying cars within the next 3 years. He said there will be human pilots on them initially, but probably not eventually. They'll probably be, flown by remote control. And Uber acknowledged that there are a number of barriers that need to be overcome before its wider use can come to fruition. For instance, new air traffic control systems would be needed to cope with the increase in aerial traffic in urban and suburban areas.
Yeah,
okay?
It sounds more like, as Craig here says, a vertical takeoff craft that could work in London. Sounds like a helicopter, says Craig in Truro, which it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a flying car at all.
Well, when you say a flying car, I mean, what is a flying car?
Well, a flying car, to me, would be a car that can go on the road as well as in the air.
And lift off like something
in Back to the Future.
Like the Hammersmith Flyover or something like that.
More like something in Back to the Future.
Well,
in
anyway,
the same way that like an aqua car is a car that goes on the road and in the water.
I can see it happening, but then I have vision, and vision is not something everybody's blessed with.
Is that what you think? Yeah, Dave says this. Typical Porky. Doesn't believe in the 16 number story, but believes 9-foot hairy hobos travel through portals from other dimensions.
Yeah, well, that's more credible than your ridiculous 16 story. I mean,
it's not ridiculous, though. It's a true story. That's why you can't get your head around it.
Day,
no, not at all.
Certainly.
Paul says if anything abnormal like that happened to Porky, he would claim he has magical powers or is psychic.
No. I don't claim that sort of thing. That's nonsense.
And Steve says if Porky only has 20 years left, can he leave me all his wealth and property as I'll be retiring about then?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I will make sure that people benefit when my demise is near, so to speak. But, that won't be for a while.
Yes.
The heart's still got a little bit further to go.
And Andy says, so Tom Thumb is Rogerising Stan Laurel's pal's table and a tall-hatted night manager walks in asking, where is there a chemist? I think they've got a bit confused.
Well, no, it's basically that, is it? Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But, the attitude that people had to sexual relationships in those sort of days seems very lax indeed. To be conducting, how can I put it? Intercourse, I suppose.
Yeah.
Whilst somebody else is
Well, it's
watching.
only a drama, isn't it? That's the whole point of it.
But
I'm slightly more worried about why they keep having to write that sort of rubbish into it. Why don't they just do drama without having to try and spice it up with some dodgy sex scenes, which nobody really wants to see?
A lot of drama is based on fact of what happened in those days.
Well, yeah, but you can.
Stephen Knight is a brilliant writer.
But you can recreate all that without having to be graphic about it. That's the skill.
Who is a master at researching, the technical detail, the facts of the situation. So it must have happened. Otherwise, Stephen wouldn't have put it into his script.
Well, lots of things happen. You don't have to actually kill someone, do you, to show that somebody gets killed?
Well, yeah, but I mean, we all knew that happened as well.
David says, I've seen Uber have helicopter taxis in Dubai. So actually, that's what they're doing.
So it's already started.
Well, it's not a flying car.
Well, there you go.
But it's not a flying car; it's a helicopter.
No, it's a flying car. And anyway, there we go. So I just thought I'd let you know that because that's what's coming next.
Yeah.
And if it does happen, I'll be queuing up there to get my old flying.
To be honest, given the amount of criticism that the Uber car business gets, I don't think I'd get in a helicopter with one of their drivers. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, but you see, you won't because they'll be driven automatically. If you see what I mean.
Oh, what you mean with that? They won't even have a pilot.
Don't have a pilot, no.
God, that's even more ridiculous.
We'll need one.
That's even more ridiculous. Now, one quick thing we didn't touch upon, which is on the back of the Daily Mail, is 5 people have been arrested in a pirate TV crackdown.
Yes.
And these are people who watch unpaid for football.
Sure.
By streaming it through various machines and pirate equipment that a lot of people have bought over the years.
That's right.
And a lot of people have used.
Yeah.
So I would say if you are doing anything like that, you better beware.
Well, don't do it because you're stealing.
Well, it seems as though the authorities are onto them.
Well, to be perfectly honest, that happens about every 2 or 3 years. There's a crackdown. Oh, pirate. Everybody tries to access stuff and pirate stuff.
Well, it goes on all the time.
Of course it does. That's what I'm saying. So it's nothing new.
I haven't heard. I don't remember the last time they arrested 5 people.
It's nothing new, and the rest of the 5 people, I think, is pretty routine. To be honest, I'm not overly excited by that story.
Well, no, because you see, whenever you watch a DVD, right, or you go to the cinema, and you see those adverts by the Federation Against Copyright Theft,
exactly,
and they talk about it being the same as stealing and all the rest of it. You don't expect them to actually go ahead and arrest anyone.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you bought a dodgy DVD from some market,
yes,
you wouldn't expect a knock on the door from the plod saying, we're going to arrest you now for that.
Well, I wouldn't know because I don't do smutty things like buying second-hand DVDs from, second-hand car dealers who've got their boot open at a boot sale. In fact, I've never been to a boot sale.
You've never been to a boot sale? So how do you know what the people who sell stuff there are like?
Well, I pass one every time I go down the A3 on a Sunday morning. It's a massive field where there are literally thousands of cars.
Literally.
As far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing stuff.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne, podcast from the Two Mics. Street Life is a website.
Was that a song by Randy Crawford?
No, Street Life.
Yeah, it was a song by Randy Crawford.
Because I've got nowhere to go.
By Randy Crawford.
Street Life.
Yeah, by Randy Crawford.
In the streets and the ghetto.
By Randy Crawford.
No, it wasn't. It was sung by a girl.
Randy Crawford is a girl.
Oh, sorry, I thought Randy Crawford was a bloke who played the piano. There was a Randy somebody. Randy Newman?
Randy Newman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so you're right.
He was also not black.
You're right, it was
Randy Crawford is a black woman singer.
She's great as well.
Don't phone your mother. Phone Talk Sport.
Football on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Athletico Radio.
Talk Sport.